This video continues with Chapter 277 Ye Cang's Strength. Naruto, Sunagakure Village, Prosperous Village, Strong People. Chapter 277 Ye Cang's Strength. Chapter 277 Ye Cang's Strength. Finally, through Sakaski's arrangement, Aramu and Yixiao got 2 hours of rest. Aramu followed CP0 out for a while, and soon he heard the screams of many slaves. It is a recovery item prepared by CP0 for Aramu in advance. The Navy and others couldn't help but become even more angry when they heard Aramaki's actions. This kind of lackey of the world government is not worthy of being a Navy general. You must know that after decades of development in the Warring States period, as well as Zepha's ideas and Garp's record, although the Navy is still affiliated with the world government, it has gained a certain degree of independence as a whole. It is precisely because of seeing this that the 5 old stars will support the radical Akenu and oppose the rise of Aokiji, who has the same philosophy as Sengoku and others. Sakaski is obviously more obedient and easier to manipulate, because they are the only ones supporting Sakaski. For now, that is indeed the case. With Sakaski's cooperation, Aramaki becoming the new general is the second step. The Navy is just the sword of the world government. Now that this sword has a tendency to backfire, it is natural to let it divide while it is still in hand. The Navy does not need to be independent, it just needs to be obedient. In the past, due to the chaos of the sea, Rocks, Roger, Golden Lion, Whitebeard, Kaido, and other great pirates were indeed able to compete with the world government. However, with the deaths of Rocks, Roger, Whitebeard, and others, although there is still chaos in this ocean, it no longer poses a threat to the world government. The most threatening thing is already the Revolutionary Army. Therefore, it is imperative to rectify the Navy. After going out to absorb the slave's medicine, Aramu returned to the competition ground, whistling in need of a beating. The Navy generals had no other choice but to sulk. After a period of rest, everyone had learned about the strength of Liu Sha and the others from Zuen and Bailey Good, and then they realized how shameless Aramu was. He said he didn't want to bully women, but in fact he must have known Ye Cang's ability in advance. They all also went to see the magma bath created by Ye Cang. If this ability were to be matched against Aramaki, Aramaki would have absolutely no chance of winning. However, Aramaki avoided it in advance and chose Liu Sha as the opponent. After learning that Liu Sha's ability was the Sisai fruit, everyone sighed a little. They did not doubt Teacher Zepha's vision, but they could not waste the opportunity they had finally won. With the excitement just now, everyone has blocked their future. It is inevitable to be resented by Marshal Sakaski, but with Sakaski's character, he will definitely not use despicable methods against them. But that won't be the case if Aramaki takes over. Someone has already proposed to see if they can request to change the opponent, even if the T-Dolphin fights Aramaki again. Cha-Do is not afraid, but he admits that his strength is not as good as that of Peach Rabbit. Even if he faces Aramu, he is only. If Aramu cheats, he will not have the ability of Peach Rabbit to fight back. And Aramaki will definitely cheat. They would definitely not agree to changing their opponents, Aramu and CP0. Only then did everyone realize that their unknowing moment of passion was tied to Liu Sha. In another office, Zepha, Sengoku, and Crane were together, as well as Garp, who was a phone bug. Zepha explained the situation to Warring States, and he sincerely. His original plan was for Ye Cang to fight Aramu, but it was replaced by Liu Sha. Although Liu Sha made a promise, he did not dare to agree with the two of them. Warring States and he don't care. The appearance of Zepha with Liu Sha at least means that things are still turning around. If Zepha didn't show up today, they would be aggrieved. Moreover, in the perception of the two of them, Liu Sha is not necessarily inferior to Aramaki. In Sakaski's office, Rob Luki said, Master Marshal Wu Leoxing has already known that something unexpected has happened. They asked me to tell you that Aramu had agreed to the conditions at the beginning. Lucci, pay attention to who you are talking to. I have done enough today. If you are not satisfied, let the 5 of them come in person. Aramaki has already avoided Ye Cang, who is good at flames, and lost to Ye Cang, who had obtained the fruit less than a month ago. Liu Sha, why do they have the nerve to come to me? Sakaski was worried that he had no place to vent. Aramu and Yixiao were in the lounge. Aramu was a little gloating about his misfortune. Brother Yixiao, I'm afraid you will have a fierce battle. Aramaki also went to see the magma bath. He was as restrained as Marshal Sakaski. Fortunately, he avoided Ye Cang, and Liu Sha had just mastered the magnetic field. Just a new person with fruit abilities. I hope you don't regret it. He smiled and said nothing else. He is blind, and he sees people with his inner eye, and under his inner eye he sees that Liu Sha is different from others. The field radiated by Liu Sha is no match for all the people present combined. Would such a strong man care about the position of a general? Huang Muqian thought he had taken advantage of it, so he could just die without a burial place. However, Wang Mu thought that Yixiao was jealous of him, and laughed and said, "It's okay, Yixiao, even if you lose to that Ye Cang, I can transfer you to my subordinates. How about you exercise the rights of a general for me?" Different road non-phase plan. He shook his head with a smile, clenched his sword and kept silent. The rest time ended quickly, and Ye Cang and Yixiao entered the competition venue respectively. MS. Ye Cang is honored to be your opponent. Yixiao and Ye Cang took the initiative to say hello. Yixiao has an easygoing personality and a strong sense of justice. He is highly accepted in the Navy. There is not that big of a backlash against Yixiao becoming a general, but there is no other way. Since we are against Aramu, we can only laugh together. You are a very nice person, but you have to offend me for the sake of becoming a general. The world is recruiting troops. The position of general is reserved for those who are capable. MS. Ye Cang, I just hope that you will not hold back. I am going to attack. Yixiao shook his head to show that he didn't care, and then the gravity was fully released, and the surrounding gravity was increased several times. The surrounding navy immediately resisted with armed color and domineering force so that they were not affected by Yixiao. Jiaji smiled bitterly, and then he realized that Yixiao had held back from the battle between him and Yixiao just now. The gravity that Ye Cang faced just now was half of what Ye Cang faced. It's ridiculous that I really thought that I was evenly matched with Yixiao. However, under the gravity of the smile, Ye Cang stood there as if nothing was wrong, and did not even use weapons to resist. Of course, Ye Cang is not as relaxed as everyone seems to be, but in the ninja world, Liu Sha often gives special training to everyone after mastering the 6th level. Although Yixiao's gravity is stronger than Liu Sha's, it is not unbearable. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. He already looked up to Ye Cang with a smile. He used gravity without any scruples, reaching the limit of his control, but the impact on Ye Cang was still limited. Gravity knife, tiger. Yixiao drew out the staff knife. Gravity accumulated on the tip of the knife, and slashed towards Ye Cang. Double gravity exploded, and a fierce tiger attacked. Before the tiger could reach it, the strong wind pressure and gravity had already shattered every inch of the ground. Projectiles from all directions fly. Ye Cang took a deep breath. The top superhuman fruit ability is completely different from the feeling of sparring between Wano and Kaido. Yixiao's strength is worthy of a general level, and Ye Cang's strength is actually about the same. He cannot defeat Yixiao without using all his strength. Ye Cang's strength exploded, natural energy gathered, and the next moment wings sprouted from his back, and he entered the state of immortality. Scorching escape, immortal technique red sun. End of this chapter. Chapter 278 Who has stronger fire ability. Chapter 278 Who has stronger fire ability. After Ziyuan's continuous improvement, as well as frequent practice with Ziyuan in the Shaiki Bone Forest, Ye Cang's fairy magic mode has become indistinguishable from Ziyuan's goddess form. As Ye Cang entered the magic mode, the power of the burning release was amplified several times in an instant, and the high temperature of the fireball rose to an exaggerated level. Just now, the Navy only used their armed colors to resist Yixiao's gravity. Now the major generals with weaker weapons have to retreat, otherwise the high temperature will burn them. No one in the pirate world has ever seen the form of senjutsu, but this sudden increase in power and changes in appearance made everyone unconsciously think of another direction. Devil fruit awakens. Only the awakening of the devil fruit can bring about such a terrifying increase and change in appearance. Different from the awakening of animal fruits, the manifestations of superhuman fruits after awakening are different. The most common one is that they can give themselves the ability to objects like the natural fruits. But it is not impossible for Ye Cang to increase his ability by such a large amount. The terrifying heat wave. The burning sun collided with a smiling gravity tiger, and there was a stalemate. One moment the tiger is about to eat the sun, and the next moment the sun is about to burn the tiger out. The terrifying power directly stirred up strong winds, and the air faintly echoed with the sounds of thunder and lightning. Huang Mu only felt lucky that his fire protection forest could not protect him from such terrifying temperatures. If he really fought with Ye Cang, his own ability would simply lead to death. Fortunately, I got the hint from CP0 and selected another opponent, Luo Sha, in advance. He only had magnetic escape. He only had it for less than a month. At most, he could only control some metals and could not keep up with his own photosynthesis recovery and vine growth speed of. The Navy sincerely admires it. Ye Cang is a woman. Due to her innate conditions, there are only a handful of strong women in this world, and those who have reached the top level are even rarer. Even Commander He has lost his strength as he grew older. The only top-level woman in the world right now is Charlotte Lingling, the aunt of the 4 emperors. Even Taodu himself admits that she cannot beat her aunt. Yixiao, who fought against Ye Cang, was recognized as the strongest among the 4 candidates for general, Taoru, Chadu, Yixiao, and Aramaki. Therefore, the defeat of Chadu was not surprising to the Navy and was acceptable. However, now that Ye Cang is a woman, he is not only on a par with Yixiao, but also shows signs of being suppressed. Not to mention exercising his own fruits to the point of awakening. Developing a devil fruit to awakening is not an easy task. Many devil fruit users may not even have heard of awakening. That is an ability that you must first fully understand your own fruit abilities and exercise to the extreme to activate them. In the awakened state, the animal-type fruit ability user can maintain the strongest posture, and the vitality, defense, and attack power will be greatly increased. The battle between Marshal Sakaski, the natural-type awakening ability user, and the former General Aokiji has changed forever. Whether in Punk has said. As for superhuman fruits, their awakening directions are also different due to the different development directions of their abilities. But no matter which type of devil fruit it is, awakening is not something that can be achieved easily, nor can it be achieved by being strong. Yixiao's strength is comparable to that of a general, and the development of the gravity fruit is still a long way from awakening. As Kairi and Mengu were in a stalemate, Yixiao couldn't bear it and took 2 steps back. He immediately activated his weapons and then managed to stay still. However, being suppressed is already obvious, and if the stalemate continues, it will only be a defeat. The gravity was suddenly increased, and the load on the body was increased, but it also destroyed the balance between the two. A violent explosion occurred in the center of the confrontation between the two, with strong winds and thick smoke billowing. Ye Cang took a step back. Yixiao took 5 steps back, staggered and tapped the ground with his staff and knife before he stabilized his body. However, no one laughed at Yixiao. If Yixiao hadn't made a decisive decision, he would have been defeated if he continued to remain in a stalemate. Catching that kind of fireball would never have been the minor injury he suffered now. MS. Ye Cang, you are very strong. I should not be your opponent, but I am really unwilling to admit defeat like this. If I can take this move, I will admit defeat willingly. Ye Xiao admits that he is not as good as Ye Cang. Ye Cang also has a good impression of Ye Xiao. He has a calm personality and is not procrastinating at all. Very well, use your move, I'll take it. Ye Xiao retreated with his left foot and used the sword-drawing stance. Gravity pulled upwards, and a meteorite that flew above the crowd was pulled down. Then a huge sound broke through the air, and a meteorite fell rapidly mixed with flames. Ye Xiao had used this move before, and the navy was a little panicked. Even though Ye Cang was very strong, everyone might not be immune to this kind of meteorite falling from the sky. Make plans for evacuation and destruction immediately. Meteorite! Ye Cang hasn't tried it yet, but the scale of this move is still a little different from Uchiha Madara's Tenjiao Zhengxing. Waving his wings, Ye Cang flew directly into the air. At the same time, each of his hands condensed a huge fireball, which merged into one. The fireball turned black as if it were the color that ends everything. Compared with a falling meteorite, Ye Cang is like a mosquito. Even the 2-in-1 burning release is only the size of a corner of the meteorite. However, none of the strong men present thought so. The moment the black sun appeared, it had immortal characteristics and terrifying power. This was also a peak strike in the field of generals. Kizaru Paluzolino exclaimed in admiration, "It's really incredible. It's as destructive as a monster." Sakaski, I think even the magma is no match for Ye Cang's burning fruit. Sakaski didn't answer. Being both of the flame type, he really wasn't sure that he could take over Ye Cang's sun. He might have been a little sure about the red sun at the beginning, but with such a black sun, his own magma would probably be burned dry. During the war, he told Ace that flames also have superiors and inferiors. And my own natural type is very likely to lose to a superhuman type. Sakaski felt a fighting spirit. How could a person with fire abilities admit defeat without a test? So it was clearly an egg hitting a rock, but everyone was sure that the egg would win. The result was indeed as everyone expected. Ye Cang's burning release came into contact with Ye Xiao's meteorite. Although the meteorite did not slow down its fall, centered on the point of contact, the entire meteorite was instantly swallowed up by black flames. The meteorite, which was as big as the entire competition field, was instantly surrounded by flames, and then the flames suddenly burst out, and then the entire meteorite disappeared inexplicably. Only the evaporated air was left twisting in midair, evaporating a meteorite into gas in an instant. Even though Ye Cang was expected to be stronger, everyone was still shocked. He almost perfectly cracked the meteorite falling from the sky. There were only a few people present who could forcefully intercept it, and the one who could do so was the most powerful shock wave after the transformation of the Sengoku Yuanchi. With a smile, he watched his meteorite disappear into nothingness. He put away his staff and sword, raised his right hand, and said directly, "I surrender this battle." End of this chapter. Chapter 279 Liu Sha's Meteorite. Chapter 279 Liu Sha's Meteorite. To activate the meteorite himself, Ye Cang actually doesn't need to force it. Not only did Ye Cang take it, he took it perfectly. Why didn't he admit defeat? You must know that the terrain damage of meteorites is not bad. If there is a real master showdown, who would stupidly wait for such a big meteorite to hit it on the spot? Now he admits defeat with a smile, and the winner is naturally Ye Cang. Before leaving, Ye Cang glanced at Sakaski intentionally or unintentionally. She was also a user of the fire system and wanted to fight with Sakaski to see who could burn whom. Then Aramaki walked out with a proud look on his face. It was indeed the right thing to avoid Ye Cang. If he really fought against Ye Cang, with the black flames just like that, he might not even have a chance to be reborn. The battle just now was exciting. Where is my opponent? Let's give him an even more exciting battle. Aramaki raised his hands high, but no one cheered for him. Aramu didn't take it seriously and said to Ye Xiao, who was walking by, "What I just said still stands. Ye Xiao, come with me." Xiao said lightly, I'm afraid you have no chance. In perception, Liu Sha had murderous intent towards Huang Mu, and with that terrifying field, Xiao didn't think Huang Mu could survive Liu Sha's murderous intent. Although it was to explore the truth about Otsutsuki Shibaju and the world, Liu Sha had no intention of kneeling down to lick the world government, especially those mindless and abnormal things from the celestial dragons. If Liu Sha hadn't been cautious and wanted to gain the recognition of the world's consciousness, he would have rushed to Marijoa and killed all the celestial dragons by now. The Admiral is just a tool that is very easy to use and not so constrained. In fact, if possible, Liu Sha would rather be a lieutenant general like Garp. He has the strength but does not listen to instructions. An admiral has limitations. However, a lieutenant general who has no foundation and only rose to the rank through world conscription may not have that kind of privilege. He had no choice but to become a general. Judging from Uramu and Xiao, they did not take the government and Sakaski seriously in the later period. Boy, I heard that you are a user with the ability of the magnetic fruit. It has not been a month since you got the fruit. In that case, don't say that I bully you, I will let you attack first. Huang Mu spoke with sarcasm. It has not been a month since Kid, the previous ability user of the magnetic fruit, died on Ghost Island. What abilities can you, Liu Sa, develop in such a short time? Moreover, although he spoke arrogantly, Aramu was not unprepared. Although Sakaski said he didn't care, he still dismantled all the iron tools in the competition venue to the best of his ability, and even the Navy's weapons were not allowed to be brought in. Zephyr looked around and found a problem. Except for weapons similar to the quick knife, everything else was centralized. Ordinary Navy firearms, sabers, and surrounding screws were actually disassembled. Without Sakaski's approval, CP0 would not have such great authority in the Navy. Sakaski, you are really— Zephyr didn't want to say anything more. For people like Sakaski, since they have chosen a path to darkness, it is useless to say anything. They also probably know Sakaski's plan, so they have always cooperated without causing trouble. However, once many things are lost, it is not so easy to get them back. Such as backbone. You feel like you are bearing the humiliation, but once you kneel for a long time, it becomes more difficult to stand up. Zephyr found out. Sengoku and he also found out, and then the Navy generals. Aramaki fights against Liu Sha. A person who has obtained the Sisai fruit for less than a month actually cheats. You must know that Aramaki's sensen fruit has already awakened. Such a person, Marshal Sakaski, do you really think he can become a general? Being favored like this, people who had some confidence in Liu Sha suddenly felt a little unsure. It takes time to develop the fruit. It took Liu Sha less than a month to get the fruit. How far can it be developed even if it is developed very strongly? The ability of the magnetic fruit cannot restrain the sensen fruit. However, Ye Cang has that kind of strength. As the leader, Liu Sha may not be weak in physical skills. This time, he must ensure that the competition is fair and not give Aramu a chance to absorb others. Liu Sha looked at Huang Mu and smiled. Are you sure you want me to attack first? Aramu thought that Liu Sha had discovered that there was no usable metal around, so he said, Boy, if you give in now, I can spare your life. Liu Sha said leisurely, It's too easy to kill you, but the scenes for my subordinates are so big. If I kill you silently, I feel very shameless. Fortunately, I finally thought of a way to kill you in a big scene. I have to thank Xiao for the tip. Since I was asked to attack first, Aramu, you have to take over. Aramaki looked unconcerned. If you say anything harsh, I'll just stand here and see how you kill me in a big way. Liu Sha flew into the air and activated all her magnetism. Aramaki immediately looked nervously at the Marines holding weapons around him, but there was no movement at all. The Navy was also puzzled. Liu Sha was flying in the air, so he knew that his understanding of magnetism was not weak. The Navy has a specialized scientific research department, which conducts research on the development of devil fruits. As the fruit of Kid, the number one figure in the evil generation. The Navy has also studied it and concluded that it is not correct to simply use it as a magnet. The correct direction is magnetism. Liuosha can fly, and the development direction is consistent with the brainstorming of many people in the Navy's scientific research department. However, everyone could feel the activation of magnetism, but no other movement was seen. Could it be that it was just flying? Aramaki can also fly, but the little flower aircraft will definitely not be able to catch up with Liuosha. War of attrition, but it makes no sense. The first one who felt something was wrong smiled. He was very sensitive to gravity and raised his head, feeling Liuosha launch the same move as his. Summon meteorites. Sure enough, there was only a sound of cracking in the air, and a meteorite fell. Everyone subconsciously turned their eyes to smile. Ixao shook his head. This was summoned by Liuosha, not me. Everyone also knew that Ixao could not blatantly help, but when they saw the meteorite, they subconsciously looked at Ixao. Moreover, the size of this meteorite is much smaller than the one summoned by Ixao. There are still some top academics in the Navy. This is the conversion of magnetism. Liuosha converts magnetism into gravity, thereby summoning meteorites. This Liuosha is not simple. Not only is it not simple! It's easy to say. Flying first means accurately grasping the development direction of magnetism, and then converting magnetism into gravity to attract meteorites from the sky. It was revealed that Liuosha was not affected by Kid's wrong research and development direction from the beginning. And in a very short period of time, the magnetic fruit was developed to a very strong level. This cannot be done by seeing it. Even if others follow Liuosha's method to develop magnetic fruits, there is no guarantee that they can be copied. The prerequisite for development is to have a good understanding of magnetic abilities. Aramaki looked at the meteorite that was about to fall on top of his head. It was just the size of the entire site. The falling speed of the meteorite, coupled with its mass, meant that if he didn't take precautions, the car might actually overturn. Unexpectedly, after all the calculations were made, Liuosha's development direction turned out to be magnetism itself. But trying to defeat yourself in this way would be looking down on me, Aramo. I am a forest person who has awakened the natural forest fruit, transforming into the forest of hate. Countless roots and vines rose up to the sky, catching Liuosha's falling meteorite in midair. End of this chapter. Chapter 280. I'm not mature enough, so I can't help it. Chapter 280. I'm not mature enough, so I can't help it. The forest growing against the sky rose more than 30 meters from the ground, and Aramu had prepared in advance. This time, they were all the seeds of hard vines brought by CP0 from all over the world. Even if he faces Taobu again, he is confident that he will not lose again. Meteorites are indeed very powerful. The moment they made contact, the vines shattered and the roots shattered, but Aramaki immediately took root deeper into the ground, constantly spawning new vines. Not one can be used, but 2, 8 or 10, consuming nearly 1/3 of the stored seeds. Finally, 10 meters away from the ground, the high temperature mixed with the meteorite cooled down, and the vines of Huangmu penetrated the meteorite, and the entire meteorite was in the air. Burst open. Ha ha! Aramaki gasped. A good attack, but unfortunately not enough. A meteorite as huge as Yixiao cannot be caught by myself, but for a meteorite of the size of Liuosha, I, Huangmu, will still have no problem. Although he was not as good as Ye Cang Shuai in dealing with him, it was still shocking enough, considering that this was a meteorite. He looked at Liuosha proudly. This kind of gravity converted by magnetism must be very lossy. Can you, Liuosha, still deliver a second blow? But he saw Liuosha smiling and applauding him. There was only a smile that was perceived first. He opened his mouth and looked at the sky in slight surprise. He shook his head and murmured, "How is that possible?" After a smile came Zephyr, Sengoku, Tsuru, Sakaski, and Kizaru. Everyone looked up to the sky. The naval generals were still feeling sorry that Liuosha didn't have a meteorite to kill Huangmu, but then they saw the leaders raising their heads. Their sense of knowledge was not that strong, but they also subconsciously raised their heads. Then there is no need to see, hear or see. Meteorites fell one after another, hitting Huang Mu. Huang Mu, who was in the center, was dumbfounded. He saw dozens of meteorites densely packed together, and his own seed reserve could only resist 2 at most. How could he fight subconsciously? He wanted to escape, but the meteorite felt like it was falling rapidly. Mom, look, the meteor shower. On the streets outside New Marineland, children playing and passers-by all saw meteorites falling from the sky and thought it was a meteor shower. But why do these meteorites seem to be all heading in the same direction? It was too late for Aramu to run away. All the seeds took root in the soil and tilted upward crazily. Being hit by such a meteorite rain, and being unable to elementalize myself, there is no chance of survival. Lucci, Marshal Sakaski, help me. Rob Luki is also scolding. How can I help you? I can't handle this level of meteorite rain. I'll stop one for you at most. Sakaski can stop it, but if his meteor volcano hits it, I will lose my newly built marine fando. Besides, you and Luo Sha are still fighting. How can I save you? Although the meteorite rain summoned by Luo Sha was dense, it was not large. They were all the size of a field, just enough to seal off the escape directions of all wild animals. Was this really summoned by Luo Sha, initiated by an ability user who had obtained the magnetic fruit for less than a month? You must know that even with a smile, he admitted that he could only summon about 3 meteorites at a time, but Luo Sha summoned at least dozens of them. Even if it is not as big as Ixiao's meteorite, its lethality is definitely much greater than 3 meteorites. Even if the fruit has been developed for more than 10 years, only a few can reach this level. Ross's performance reminded the Navy of 2 people, Doflamingo and Charlotte Katakuri, who respectively developed the less powerful thread fruit and Nuo fruit to incredible extents. They all also entered fruit awakening. As expected, there are no useless fruits, only those with fruit abilities who cannot use them. It is recognized that the upper limit of the ability of the magnetic fruit is not low, but Luo Sha has only mastered it for less than a month. Genius is not enough to describe Luo Sha. Originally, it was thought that Luo Sha had not long since obtained its fruits, and the development was very limited. The Navy just wanted to find a crack in the ground to get in. There is no need to worry about whether Luo Sha can win at the moment. It is worth guessing whether Ong Mu can leave a whole body. However, someone who is familiar with gravity knows with a smile that Luo Sha's performance is far from being as simple as it seems. To know that the meteorite is in space, you need to project gravity into space in advance, find the meteorite, and then land the meteorite on the ground. Ixiao himself could not control the size of the meteorites, and the one that was the largest would attract which one. However, the meteorites summoned by Luo Sha were different. They were all carefully selected. It was about the same size, just enough to cover the playing field, making it impossible for Aramaki to escape. This represents super strong control ability, and Luo Sha can also convert magnetism into gravity, which even a user with the gravity fruit ability cannot do. Luo Sha is indeed terrifying. Is his ability to obtain the magnetic fruit really only available for less than a month? Aramu has gone crazy. The power of one meteorite is different from that of dozens of meteorites. He didn't run away at first, but now it's too late to run away. Huge wind pressure and crackling sound. Even if Aramu wanted to stop him, he would not be able to. 3 meteorites crashed down together, and Huang Mu pushed the forest to grow with all his strength. But before he could stop him, 2 more meteorites fell, directly piercing Huang Mu's body. Aramu wanted to run away, but 3 more meteorites hit him above his head. Aramaki admit defeat. Rob Luki immediately admitted defeat on Huang Mu's behalf, and then used his moon step to smash a meteorite with all his strength. This gave Aramu a chance to escape, but before Aramu could be happy, 5 more meteorites accelerated at this moment, sealing Aramu's possibility of escaping. Luo Sha, you? How could Rob Luki not see that Liu Sha was up to something? Liu Sha shrugged. Who are you? Why did you interfere in the selection of the Admiral? Why are you glaring at me? Meteorites are falling. Do you think I can control it? Liu Sha, I remember you, Marshal Sakaski. Akenu stood up and looked at the 30 or so meteorites still falling from the sky. Poor Uzalino help. Only Kizaru's abilities and Sengoku's abilities are suitable for blocking meteorites. Warring states had no choice but to ask Kizaru for help. Really, you are causing trouble for me. Kizaru transformed into an 8-foot Magatama and used countless lasers to break the meteorites falling from the sky into small pieces. At this scale, Aramaki should be able to escape. However, just as Kizaru had lifted the 8-foot Magatama, more than 40 meteorites suddenly fell from the sky. Kizaru struck directly. I tried my best, but I can't stop him this time. Sakaski glared at Liu Sha and said, Liu Sha, what do you mean? Liu Sha looked innocent. It's not interesting. I just summoned this in one breath, but it came a little late. As you know, not long after I got the magnetic fruit, I converted the magnetic force into gravity, and the control was not good. It's normal, and abilities require a familiar process. Summoning hundreds of meteorites at once, you say you can't control them well. Not mastering the fruit well, so what do other people with abilities count? However, it is true that Kid just died and Lyosha soon mastered the magnetic fruit. Sakaski gritted his teeth and said, How many meteorites do you have left? Maybe they are gone, maybe there are hundreds more. I don't have good control over the fruit's ability, so there's nothing I can do about it. Sakaski, Rob Luki, tell them clearly that the number of meteorites left depends on whether they want to rescue Huangmu. It was also expressed very clearly. Aramu must die today. No one can save it. I, Liu Sha, said it. End of this chapter. Chapter 281. It's really a big scene. Chapter 281. It's really a big scene. Rob Luki's eyes were cold and he transformed into a human beast. Liu Sha, are you sure you don't want to give face to the world government? Are you kidding me? I came to participate in the world conscription to be elected as a general. You said that I don't give face to the world government. Can UCP-0 represent the all-powerful world government? Or has the Navy become a subordinate of CP? Liu Sha didn't care about Lu Kai's threat at all and responded tit for tat. Even the meteorites that originally landed fell faster. Ah. The competition arena echoed with Aramaki's screams. At first, when Lu Kai and Kizaru took action, he thought he was saved, but unexpectedly, dense meteorites appeared in the sky again. He returned to his human form and wanted to escape, but the speed of the meteorite accelerated in vain, and the huge wind pressure suppressed him and made it difficult for him to move. Although he is a user with the ability of the natural fruit of the forest. However, like the Sensen fruit and the dark fruit, the Esper cannot be fully elementalized and cannot be immune to physical attacks. Seeing that he could not escape, Aramaki once again transformed into a hatred of the forest, but this time he chose to sink his roots into the ground. I bet that as long as I can leave a seed, I will be able to sprout and be reborn. He never expected that after avoiding Ye Cang, Liu Sha's strength would be even more terrifying. Hundreds of meteorites. Can this really be mastered by a person who has obtained the magnetic fruit for less than a month? But he no longer wanted to find the answer. He even regretted that even if he faced Ye Cang, he would still be able to escape even if he failed. Liu Sha's posture obviously did not give him a chance to survive. Lucci and Sakaski didn't give any face. With Aramu's desperate efforts, the roots penetrated dozens of meters into the ground. Without the obstruction of Kizaru and others, the meteorites finally fell one after another. Boom! Exclamation! Boom! Exclamation! Boom! Exclamation! Boom! Exclamation! Boom! Exclamation! Boom! A meteorite hit a meteorite, and while the attack wave brought wind pressure, it shook the audience stage so that cracks appeared. Even the first-level lieutenant generals who were watching had already retreated to the back row. Even if they could resist, there was no point in doing so. They would only make them look disgraced. They all looked at Liu Sha in shock and tied their future to Liu Sha. They also wanted Liu Sha to win. They even broke into a cold sweat when they knew that Liu Sha had mastered the fruit for less than a month. I pray that Liu Sha has strong physical strength and can defeat Aramu without relying on fruits. As a result, I never expected that Liu Sha's development of the fruit would be so powerful. The awakening of the magnetic fruit would be of this intensity, with a series of meteor showers. If it weren't for Liu Sha's intentional control, this ability would cover the attack on the naval headquarters, and the damage caused would be no less than the shaking fruits of war Whitebeard on top. Moreover, Liu Sha only used one move from beginning to end, and there were definitely other killing moves. What is the upper limit of now Liu Sha's strength? Meteorite rain continued, smashing the ground to a depth of more than 10 meters. The entire naval base was shaking. The competition venue had begun to turn into scorched earth. At the same time, the temperature mixed with the meteorites turned the ground into magma and penetrated it. Most of Uramaki's body was burned, and he worked harder to take root in the soil. He didn't even have time to scream, let alone arrange a fire forest. He knew if he slowed down he would die. Sengoku and Hezuru turned to Zephyr. Warring States said, "Zephyr, you really brought back an amazing person." Zephyr shook his head. Liu Sha came here by himself, not me. Liu Sha's meteor shower shocked not only the lieutenant generals. Although they didn't know much about the magnetic fruit, they also knew through Fujitora that summoning meteorites was not easy. Fujitora could only summon 3 meteorites at a time. What level is the strength of summoning hundreds of Liu Shan? Looking at Liu Sha's effortless appearance, it means that the loss is not big at all. He asked Warring States, if you are at the peak, can you carry it down? Warring States thought for a while and replied, 3 waves. At the peak of this density of meteorite rain, I can withstand 3 waves. I'm afraid my physical strength will be exhausted after 3 waves. And that was at my peak state. Now I'm afraid I'll just have to take the next wave. At this time, Garp, who was watching the battle through the Warring States phone bug, answered, I'm old. I can only temporarily avoid this kind of meteorite rain. But although I was not there, I feel that summoning meteorites is probably the best option for that kid. The ability he doesn't look down on. As he said at the beginning, he has countless ways to solve the battle in an instant. He only uses this method for his big scene. Liu Sha's opening remarks seemed to be harsh at first, but now everyone knows that it is the truth. Zephyr, he, Sengoku and Garp all experienced the era of rocks and Roger, which was even more chaotic and disorderly than the current sea. In their opinion, Liu Sha already has the strength to rival rocks. Crane said, in any case, he came to join the Navy instead of becoming a pirate. That's enough, isn't it? Although Liu Sha definitely has his own purpose in joining the Navy, there is nothing disgusting about him. He has an aura and even a faint desire to be admired by everyone. Such a person is no better than Ong Mu as a general. A strong person like Liu Sha, who has strength beyond that of a naval admiral, was not trained by the Navy. Normally, he would not join the Navy. Even a smile is the same. To become a strong man, you must first have a strong heart and a firm belief. Although the Navy is not weak and protects the people, it has rejected 80.00% of the righteous strong men with pig teammates like Tianlong. Who among the truly strong men would be willing to protect scum like the celestial dragons? Therefore, the strong men in the Navy are trained by themselves, and their belief in justice becomes the barrier for them to overcome the top strong men. Either they are like Rob Luki, Aramu, or the members of the Knights of God, who distort their values and pursue the supremacy of the celestial dragons. However, because such people have no ideas of their own and are suppressed by the celestial dragons, it is difficult for them to become truly top powerhouses. The dragons initially quit because they couldn't stand the atrocities committed by the Qianlong people and formed a revolutionary army. Aramaki wouldn't have been able to defeat Taodu without cheating. No matter how strong Rob Luki is, he is just a lackey of the Tianlong people, and there is still a gap between the strength of a general. Only the strong ones among the celestial dragons, the members of the 5 old stars and the knights of God, think they are superior and have strong strength. Strong men like Liu Sha and Ye Cang would never pay attention to the navy in normal times, which means that the position of general is still slightly attractive. Fujitora is trying to practice his own concept of justice. I don't know what Liu Sha is for, but as a top powerhouse, what a few people can feel is that Liu Sha is not a bad person. Because he had saved the ninja world, Rasa had the aura of saving the world, and he was loved by Sunagakure village and recognized by the entire ninja world. This invisible force of will wraps around Liu Sha. Coupled with the fact that Liu Sha gained access to the pirate world after destroying the historical text, even Pluto's ship elves believed it. Zephyr and others don't know Liu Sha's background, but Liu Sha's salvation aura cannot be faked. He must have saved countless people and has the blessing of the world. Several people have this kind of thing. It was in sharp contrast to Aramu's killing karma. So Zephyr believed in Liu Sha for the first time and vouched for Liu Sha. Warring states and he were also willing to accompany him. Otherwise, no matter how good Liu Sha is, he will not be able to get everyone's support regardless of him. Zephyr took a deep breath. I hope I made the right choice. End of this chapter. Chapter 282 Guidance to Sakaski. Chapter 282 Guidance to Sakaski. Zephyr can be said to be Liu Sha's guide. If Zephyr had not recommended it, Liu Sha would not have been able to register on the last day and still qualify for the challenge. In other words, everything Liu Sha does from now on will affect Zephyr. But now that the matter is over, all Zephyr can do is believe in his own vision. The meteor shower on the other side is coming to an end. Rob Luki was filled with hatred, but there was nothing he could do. CP0 was said to be on the same level as the Navy, but it was okay to make mistakes in the Navy branch. In the Navy headquarters, he still had the strength to crush his boss. He didn't dare to confront him at all. Liu Sha takes action. Besides, taking action is asking for trouble. Sakaski was neither sad nor happy. To be honest, he was a little relieved. Aramu's rise to power was a compromise between him and the 5 old stars, but he had done enough. It was Aramu's lack of strength and he couldn't blame himself. As the last meteorite fell, the competition venue had sunk 100 meters and the audience stage was crumbling. The underground has been smashed into a sea of magma and fire. Aramaki had no chance of survival. In fact, Liu Sha has opened a small opening in the divine power space, and with the power of the 6 paths, there is an extra fruit in it. Then he helplessly spread his hands and said, I'm really sorry. The time I have mastered the fruit is too short. I couldn't control it and it became like this. Marshal Sakaski should be the winner. Sakaski thought to himself, stop using the excuse that you don't have good control over the fruit. I declare that Liu Sha wins the battle between Liu Sha and Naramu. Liu Sha, Ye Cang and Zai Liu follow me. Zephyr stopped him and said, Sakaski, what else do you want to do? Sakaski said, Teacher Zephyr, I don't know much about Liu Sha and Ye Cang. The position of Admiral is not randomly appointed. Even if all of you guarantee it, I have to confirm with them whether the title of Admiral is. Seeing this, Zephyr no longer stopped him. Moreover, with the strength of Liu Sha and Ye Cang, if Sakaski really wants to play tricks, he will only be the unlucky one. Ye Cang and Zai Liu followed Liu Sha and came to Sakaski's office sit. Different from his previous coldness, Sakaski entered the office and tried to raise the corners of his mouth to look more amiable. Marshal, please tell me what you have to say. I believe you didn't ask us to come just to confirm the title of some general. Although he called himself Marshal, there was no respect in his tone, but more of teasing. Instead of sitting in the marshal's seat, he sat on the sofa where the guests were. Liu Sha sat opposite Sakaski, and Ye Cang and Zai Liu stood behind Liu Sha. Liu Sha, you have to know that although you and Ye Cang defeated Ye Xiao and Eramu, it is not that easy to become a general. Even with the guarantees of Zephyr, Sengoku, he and others, it is still easy to be detained. It's a hat that shouldn't be there. You must know that the general was originally supposed to be Peach Rabbit and Tea Dolphin. Liu Sha didn't take it seriously. I don't know if the marshal's statement is threatening us, or wooing us. But Marshal Sakaski, have you ever thought that this admiral may not be that important to me? Akainu didn't take it seriously either. Ross's strength deserved his respect. After being a marshal for a year, he was no longer the Akainu who started a war whenever he disagreed. With Ross's strength, he would be a stable Yonko in the New World. After Whitebeard's death, Blackbeard and Wang Zhai have been competing for the seat of the last 4 emperors. If Liu Sha joins the battle, neither of them will stand a chance. Then just think that I'm trying to win over you. What do you think of me? Liu Sha said calmly, to be honest, it doesn't matter what I think of you. What the marshal cares more about is what the Navy thinks of you. In fact, the marshal's thoughts are not difficult to guess. He keeps a low profile, takes risks, pretends to join the 5 old stars, and is paralyzed the enemy, and then secretly develop the Navy's strength, and when necessary, make the Navy independent of the government. I don't know if I'm right. Sakaski froze, and Liu Sha guessed that it was very different from what he was doing. He always felt that the previous Navy was too weak and acted too benevolently. He also looked down upon the celestial dragons. And among the pirates in this world, which one didn't have lives and blood on their hands? But they dominate the territory majestically and are known as the 4 emperors and even compete with the Navy. There was also the King Shichibukai, who was legally plundered by the government and even burned, killed, and looted in the name of the government. This is not in line with his thorough justice. He wants to monopolize power and then carry out iron-blooded reform of the Navy to eradicate all injustice, especially pirates. But in the past, a general only had to think about it. Only when he became a marshal did he understand the difficulties of the warring states period. Is it just that he showed it so obviously? So what? Actually, Marshal, you have taken the wrong path. You have been a marshal for a year. You should understand that the world is not over just by shouting slogans. Your idea is very good, but have you ever thought about how the Navy can be independent? Do you think the previous Navy was too merciful to raise the bandits to respect themselves? Have you noticed that since the death of Whitebeard, the world government has turned its attention to the Revolutionary Army? If there is not enough turmoil, what's the point of the Navy's existence? Marshal, your strategy is so simple that even I can see it. Do you think Wu Laoxing can't see it? Warring states and Zephyr can't see it? Do you think why don't they hold you back? Do you think Wu Laoxing really supports you? Do you think that you can turn the Navy into your own party by showing weakness for a moment, and then you can counterattack? It is not easy to pick up many things after losing them. You used to be a hardcore soldier in the Navy. Although you are extreme, your supporters are not master. Now, do you think you are holding back? But after you lose your backbone, how many people in the Navy say that you have become the mouthpiece of the 5 old stars? You have further compromised by introducing someone like Aramaki as a general, which actually consumes your reputation even more. If this continues, how much combat power will you still have until you take control of the Navy? Ross's questioning made Akainu break into a cold sweat. Honestly, if you are really ruthless and feel that the rights are not unified, then come up and find a way to force Zephyr, Garp, Sengoku and he out of the Navy. Maybe the reform will be successful. Sakaski, you made the wrong opponent. Your opponents have never been your former superiors. On the contrary, they are on the same front as you. What you should really do is to join forces with them to act. If you are not in harmony with your heart, deceive the support of the 5 old stars instead of getting yourself into the current predicament where you are not human inside and out. Sakaski seemed to be struck straight to the soul. Is it just my own unruliness that I don't look down on the officers who led the Navy through the most difficult and weakest times, thinking that they are following the old-fashioned way? As a result, my own compromise created a dilemma. Sakaski fell silent. Liu Sha didn't bother him. Upon seeing this, Ye Cang unceremoniously took Sakaski's tea set and made tea for Liu Sha. It wasn't until a cup of hot tea was pushed in front of him that Sakaski smiled bitterly and said, Liu Sha, aren't you afraid that I will become angry if you tell me so much? Liu Sha drank tea and smiled. Are you sure you are angry because of shame? Didn't you die in vain? Sakaski laughed, drank the hot tea in one gulp, and the gloom in his eyes cleared away. Everything is still in time. Boy, don't be too confident. I am the Marshal of the Navy. What do you think of the title Magneto Dragon? End of this chapter. Chapter 283 Im&amp #039's order. Chapter 283 Im's order. Since the title was given, it meant that Liu Sha's words were listened to. Over the course of a year, all the unhappiness with many generals within the Navy also made Akenu very tired. Although he did not regret what he had done, the loneliness that no one understood was even more deadly. In Liu Sha's opinion, Akenu is similar to Uchiha Madara. He fought hard for his beliefs and worked silently. In the end, he just moved himself and went in the wrong direction. Akenu is much better than Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara was deceived by Black Zetsu and became lame, and there was a Senju Hashirama suppressing him. Akenu is different. He is his teacher, former boss and colleague. Although I don't agree with his extreme justice, I still support Akenu. They can join forces and there is no need to engage in total confrontation. Akenu is just too arrogant for his own ideas. After 1 year as a marshal, he was no longer as free as when he was a general. The responsibility and reality had made him sober up a lot. Otherwise, if it had been a year ago, the moment Liu Sha dared to question Akenu, he would have hit him with a pygmy dog. Would he still be here to listen to your advice no matter what your strength is? I, Sakaski, am the one who dares to kill Garp's grandson in front of him. The person who scares me enough not to take action doesn't exist yet. However, Akenu is no longer so extreme and considers more comprehensively now. The strength of the 3 of Liu Sha is worthy of recognition, and such powerful people are even more helpful in the Navy. As he and others perceive, the aura of salvation on Liu Sha at least means that Liu Sha will not be a bad guy. At least now we are someone we can cooperate with. It's good that the Marshal can figure it out. I accept the title of Magneto Dragon. At the beginning, Liu Sha thought it was simple. It was not a sudden idea to have a casual conversation with Sakaski. Without Sakaski's support, Liu Sha would have no chance of becoming a general. Just like what Sakaski said, Aramaki has a deep connection with the world government. Killing Aramaki by yourself is just a few wanted notices. Don't make the operation too simple. Give Sakaski some advice, and if you can support yourself, then proceed as planned. If it fails, then go to the Revolutionary Army to help and speed up the progress there. After all, the Navy's background is better. Now that Akenu supports his rise to power, everything is easier. Liu Sha and Sakaski reached a cooperation. After Liu Sha left, Sakaski took the initiative to visit his mentor Zepho, former Navy Marshal Sengoku and Chief Staff Officer He. I don't know exactly what kind of consensus was reached. But since then, Sakaski's always gloomy face has finally become clear. Afterwards, the Navy conducted a back examination on the officers and commanders who had entered the Navy through global recruitment some time ago and had unqualified conduct, and eliminated many people who did not live up to their names. After it was determined, Liu Sha's final title was Magnetic Dragon, Ye Cang's title was Fire Phoenix, and Zai Liu was recognized as a candidate for general after Zepha's personal test, with the title Purple Eagle. Suddenly, the strength of the Navy skyrocketed. During the world recruitment, the Navy has appointed 2 new generals, Magnetic Dragon Liu Sha and Fire Phoenix Ye Cang, as well as 2 general candidates Fujitora Yixiao and Purple Eagle Ziluo. But some people are happy and some are unhappy. Mary Joa, Pan Ancient City. After listening to Rob Luki's report, Wu Leoxing held an impromptu meeting. The samurai Nasashiro sage said, "Where did this rasa come from?" The plan to split the navy was just short of the last step of Aramaki ascending to power, but unexpectedly something unexpected happened at this time. The blonde Saint Pitt said, Liu Sha, a user with the magnetic fruit ability, can summon hundreds of meteorites at a time. And his 2 subordinates, Ye Cang, a user with the burning fruit ability, can emit fireballs that can vaporize an entire meteorite in an instant. Meteor, a devil fruit that has never appeared before, with strength at the level of a general. Zai Liu, a strong physical expert, suppressed Zepha throughout the fight and was accepted by Zepha as a closed disciple. Able to command subordinates with the strength of a general, Liu Sha himself the strength that is suspected of surpassing that of a general is so different from what Rox and Roger imagined back then. The bald and 8-character Huo Watchery said, "The important thing is that these 3 people seemed to pop out of the cracks in the ground suddenly. There are also Gaara and Karin from the Revolutionary Army, the pirates Kimamero and he who are in the limelight. Shiro, and the Yamada no Orochi who surrendered Kaido." The world suddenly became turbulent. The last 2 months have been the most troublesome for world governments. Kaido is attached to Wano, and although his sphere of influence has not changed, Kaido completely abandoned Doflamingo's cooperation, causing great turmoil in the underground world. Moreover, Kaido plus Yamada no Orochi, who is not weaker than Kaido, are 2 powerful men at the Yonko level. Such a force can already bring about subversive changes in the strength of pirates in the New World. Now that Whitebeard is dead, Blackbeard has attacked Wang Zhai several times with the intention of occupying Beehive Island and becoming the new 4 emperors. But if Yamada no Orochi and Kaido join forces, there will be no new group of 4 emperors at all, and even the red hair will not be Kaido's opponent. There is also the abominable sealing fruit ability user of the Revolutionary Army, who relied on the sealing scroll to solve the biggest problem of the Revolutionary Army's lack of supplies and difficulty in carrying them. Wars continue in various places, and if it continues to develop, it may completely shake the foundation of the world government. Unfortunately, except for the name of Xiang Phosphorus, everything else is unknown. The most important thing is that these top experts appear almost suddenly without any clues at all. It is true that the world of pirates is very vast, and the world government has never really fully controlled it. These unknown strong men have appeared in 2s and 3s in the past, but appearing in such a cluster is not a good sign. The long-bearded Mass Saint said, "Can the 3 people of Liu Sha be won over to the side of the world government?" After all, Aramaki is dead and the Navy's split plan has also been implemented smoothly. The relationship between Sakaski, Sengoku and others it has dropped to freezing point. The curly-haired Satan asked, "Do you think it's possible? People who are comparable to Rox and Roger will obey our orders? I even wonder if this Liuosha is also a member of the D family." The samurai Nashiro said, "So, just in case, let's destroy it. Contact Sakaski and ask him to expel Rasa from the Navy. Just say that Rasa is not qualified and send the Knights of God to intercept and kill him." Liu Sha. After thinking for a while, everyone agreed to Nashu Linsheng's proposal, but the threat still had to be nipped in the bud. Then he dialed Akanu's contact number. "I'm afraid this won't work." The phone bug transformed into Akanu's form and rejected the Gaja-size proposal. The 8-character Hukiulai said solemnly, "What do you mean, Sakaski?" Sakaski was unfazed. "The general's appointment has been spread to the whole world through news. It's too late to cheat now. Newsbird will send the newspaper to you in a moment. Knowing that Wu Leoxing would not give up, after discussing with Liu Sha, Sakaski took the lead in announcing the appointment of the general to the world. Taking it back at this time would not only be a slap in the face of the government, even if it was too late to throw dirty water on Liu Sha. Besides, Sakaski's appearance clearly indicated that he would not cooperate with these people. Good. Wu Leoxing still doesn't understand that this is the alliance between Sakaski and Liu Sha. Just as they were about to explode, suddenly several people received orders from Im. Don't stop Liu Sha from being promoted to general. End of this chapter. Chapter 284. Everyone in the ninja world has no upper limit. Chapter 284. Everyone in the ninja world has no upper limit. I originally thought that Wu Laozing would not give up, but suddenly stopped and agreed to Liu Sha becoming a general. Sakaski didn't know why the 5 old stars changed their minds. Maybe it was the increasingly turbulent world that made them pay attention to the Navy's increasingly insufficient combat effectiveness, but it would be great if Liu Sha could take over smoothly. Liu Sha didn't even care. He was currently wearing a coat with justice written on it, activating an ability similar to the Samsara Eye magic lantern body technique in his room, communicating with a group of close associates, and discussing the next plan in the spiritual space. Liu Sha expressed his affirmation of everyone's illusions and recent performance, and everyone also learned through the news that Liu Sha and others had successfully become generals. Then came everyone's reports. Orochimaru said, "Lord Rasa, everything is fine in Wano country. Thanks to the pirates who have been harassing me some time ago, comparison of large-scale data can basically confirm that the races in the pirate world have been genetically adjusted. Traces of the devil fruit are the degraded version of the fruit of the sacred tree and the technological product of the pirate planet. The ability of the devil fruit is the extraction of the blood inheritance limit. And through a large amount of underground intelligence, it is shown that the pirate planet has a large number of ultra-ancient technological civilizations. I obtained several pieces through Kaido, and I suspect that the pirate planet was probably dominated by technological civilization in the past." Gaara said, "Father, the development of the Revolutionary Army is going very smoothly. With the seal scroll of Xianglan, we have successfully liberated many oppressed countries, and the anti-world government alliance is already in preparation." Kimimaro said, "Lord Rasa, the government has contacted me several times recently and wants me to join the Shichibukai. Please see if you agree." Liu Sha nodded from time to time and continued, "Nothing else is urgent. Let's talk about your changes now." At first, a few people felt that Lord Rasa was too cautious. He had gained the recognition of the world's will in Wano country, and could completely transfer some strong men from the ninja world to launch an attack on the pirate world. After getting Orochimaru's research results, and knowing that this world turned out to be an experimental world, with existences above the 6th level, and where Otsutsuki Shibaju died, I realized that Lord Rasa was taking every step. A few people were still too impatient, especially after they have made a name for themselves in the world. The more blessings they receive from the world, the more they understand the good intentions of Master Liu Sha. The one who is most sensitive to the blessing of the power of the world is Gaara. As the second six-path powerhouse after Rasa, he can fight against the will of the world, but it will consume his own power. Now he has joined the Revolutionary Army, constantly liberating exploited countries, gaining more and more recognition from the people, and also gaining more world power. Unlike the world power of the ninja world, which gave Gaara a huge increase. Originally, he had to cooperate with Shikaku to enter the Six Paths mode. Now that he has obtained the world power of the pirate world, he can enter the Six Paths mode on his own. As a user with the ability to seal the fruit, Kosovo's recognition in the liberated countries is also not low. Everyone knows that it was because of the emergence of the sealing scroll that he could easily overthrow the previous brutal government. Kosovo's recognition is even greater than that of Gaara. Took the lead to enter above the shadow level. The second is Orochimaru. He was a myth in Wano country. He gained the most power of the world and made great progress in strength. He was originally at the bottom like Maki and Karin, but he has already entered the level above the cage level and below the 6 paths. A true Yonko level, capable of suppressing Kaido. The fight again stunned Kaido. Not only Orochimaru, but as Orochimaru's envoy Maki has also gone a step further and entered above the shadow level, but he is still the lowest among the 3. Kimimaro and Shiro are a bit worse. They are just world-famous great pirates and are not as recognized by the world as the previous ones, but their strength is already high. Although the increase is small, Haku's strength is still firmly suppressing the current Orochimaru. Kimimaro felt that he could break through to the 6th level at any time, but there was only one opportunity left. The same goes for Heikura and Murasaki, who are at the same level as Kimimaro. Especially after Heikura becomes a general and Murasaki becomes a candidate for general, the Navy's influence is the largest in the world. Although the world government is a lackey of the celestial dragons, the Navy also has pests. Generally speaking, it still protects the basic order of the entire pirate world. Their positions have given them a lot of recognition and world power. Under the fusion of the power of the 2 worlds, one can briefly enter a pseudo 6-path mode. In this mode, a Tao-seeking Jade can be condensed. Although it is only one, it is also a Tao-seeking Jade. And Liu, who was already at the advanced level of the 6th path, had vaguely touched the threshold of breakthrough. If Kaguya Otsutsuki had recklessly declared war on the world, these people would definitely not have made the progress they have made now, and would have been besieged by the entire world. They secretly admired Rosa's foresight. Liu said, "Very good, the will of the pirate world is not like that of the ninja world, so the power of the world is also very messy. It is not fixed in the hands of the 3 holy places and the 6-path immortals like the ninja world, but who is famous in the world, the more blessings we receive from the power of the world. And unlike the aborigines of this world, because we come from the ninja world, we are not limited by the fate of the pirate world. There is an upper limit for people in the pirate world to obtain world power, but we do not exist. As long as we are constantly recognized by the world, the more world power we will obtain. Now that it is confirmed that there are existences above the 6 paths level in this world, so we must speed up, obtain the blessing of the world power of the pirate world, and enter the 6 paths level. Because they are invaders and do not exist in the pirate world, there is no upper limit to the power of the world that everyone can obtain after their identity is recognized in the pirate world. This is something that even the 4 emperors, navy admirals, and 5 old stars cannot match. Kaido's strength has never been able to break through to the 6th level. Just like Kimimaro and Heikura, there is an upper limit in his own world. This upper limit is usually unbreakable. Even the strength of Kimimaro and others could not reach above the shadow level originally. It was the influence of Rosa, a person outside of fate, that increased their upper limit. However, if you want to break through to the 6th level, you also need opportunities and continuous accumulation. But coming to the pirate world, the power of the 2 worlds merged, and everyone's strength improved in a short period of time, and the chance of breaking through the 6th level was greatly increased. Because he took refuge in Rosa, his original destiny was rewritten, and Kaido has recently found that his strength has weakened slightly. You must know that it has been many years since Kaido reached his limit. Now that there has been a slight improvement, it must be related to Liu, and he is even more sure that his move of surrendering to Liu was correct. A group of cronies were also very excited, and at the same time they also secretly made up their minds that the final battle in the ninja world would not be helped by Master Liu. This time the decisive battle in the pirate world could not be left behind again. You must break through to the 6th level. Don't hold Master Liu back. Ma Jai asked directly, "Lord Liu, what should we do next?" "I do have some thoughts on that." End of this chapter. Chapter 285. The next direction. Chapter 285 The next direction. These people will naturally need more recognition from the world and gain more world power. However, we can't just cause chaos in the world like a headless fly. That way there will be too much uncertainty and the benefits will be too small. The biggest benefit is naturally to intercept the protagonist's luck. Transfer the protagonist's energy to yourself. Rasa said to Gaara, "Gaara, what is the next move of the Revolutionary Army?" Gaara said, "Dorag and the others are still researching. They should still be small countries that will not affect the world's structure." The situation has become smaller. Liu Sha said, "I have news. You tell Dorag and the others that your Revolutionary Army will go to save Dressrosa next." Dressrosa, Tenyasha Doflamingo's country? I'm afraid Drago won't agree. It is a franchise country of the world, and Doflamingo is a former celestial dragon. Compared with other people who are in dire straits, countries where it's a very low priority, the Revolutionary Army naturally has its own plan to gradually liberate countries that have been oppressed to the extreme by the world government. Such countries have the greatest will to resist, and at the same time test the bottom line of the world government. Although after obtaining the sealing scroll of fragrance phosphorus, there is a lot of freedom in action, but directly attacking the alliance countries such as Dressrosa is not in the current plan. But what if Dressrosa was stolen by Doflamingo, and because of the devil fruit's ability, everyone in the world lost the correct memory of Dressrosa? Not only that, there are also people who were stolen by Doflamingo. The oppressed little human race, such a world alliance country, fell into the clutches of King Shichibukehara celestial dragon Doflamingo because of the world government's indifference, and was finally saved by the Revolutionary Army. Do you think the prestige of the Revolutionary Army will be how much increase? And with the example of Dressrosa, how many of the oppressed alliance countries will secretly contact the Revolutionary Army? Rasa told Gaara and Karin about the childlike fruit and Dressrosa's situation. Gaara's eyes are getting brighter and brighter. If this is the case, the tangible and intangible benefits gained from liberating Dressrosa will definitely be passed within the Revolutionary Army. The Revolutionary Army is now regretting that it did not intervene in the civil war in Alabasta and missed such a good opportunity to enter the world stage head-on. Now that I know the situation in Dressrosa, I will definitely not miss it. Father, if this is the case, the Revolutionary Army will definitely be dispatched. Rasa nodded and turned to Kimimaro and Shiro. Kimimaro and Shiro, you guys are going to Fishman Island. Didn't the world government ask you to join the king's Shichibukai? You can agree, but Fishman Island will become your territory. I need you to improve your relationship with the Fishman clan. I have a good impression and get the approval of Fishman Island. It would be best if the former Shichibukai Jinbei there can join you. If not, it doesn't matter. But Princess Shirahoshi of Fishman Island, I need you to gain her complete trust. She is one of the top 3 in the world. One of the weapons, Poseidon, the king of the sea, can command the sea kings all over the world. We must control this power in our own hands. Everyone met Pluto under the leadership of Liu Sha, but they didn't expect that Neptune was actually a living mermaid princess. Kimimaro and Shiro nodded and said, "We must complete Master Liu Sha's mission." Liu Sha turned to Ye Cang again. Ye Cang, being promoted to a general requires some credit. When Gaara goes to Dressrosa, you take people to Punk Hassad, which is Doflamingo's underground research base. The person in charge is Caesar Brown, who is wanted by the government. At the same time, Vergo from the G5 branch is Doflamingo's man. Under Vergo's cover, a large number of children were stolen by Punk Hassad for human experimentation. You go and deal with the traitors in the Navy. Rescue the child. I must complete Master Liu Sha's mission. Then Zeluo, you are now Zepha's direct disciple. Although it is a little inconvenient, it is just right. Next, Zepha will go to the Research Institute of Egghead Begapunk to replace his arm. I need you to take one of the Aventurine Eye with only the Sharingan goes over and contacts Vegapunk, and then I will personally contact him. I must complete Master Liu Sha's mission. Zai Liu was a little embarrassed. His task was too simple. However, Zai Liu is also the least worried about Liu Sha. Zai Liu is a pure warrior. Once he has mastered all the martial arts from the two worlds, he will naturally enter the sixth path level. Ma Jai scratched his head and said, Lord Liuosha, what about us? Continue to stay in the country of Hezai? Because Orochimaru has become the patron saint of Wano and also needs to run Wano, Maki and Orochimaru are unable to leave. Liuosha could only express helplessness at this point. Ma Jai said, in that case, then I will refuse the invitation of Wan Guo to participate in their marriage with the kingdom of Germa. Wait, what did you say? The marriage between Wan Guo and Germa? Yes, Andy sent an invitation to Kaido, saying that he was attending the marriage of her 35th daughter, Charlotte Bryn, and Germa's third son, Binsmoke Sanji. Gaara said at this time, did that Sanji guy be captured by Germa? How come he became Germa's third son? Ma Jai said, I don't know. I heard that Germa discovered Sanji at sea, and when Andy held a tea party, they directly announced the marriage of the two families. The two of them talked to each other, and Liu Sha probably understood what happened. The butterfly effect among people began to appear. It turns out that Gaara and Karin went to the Man Monster Kingdom to find the Man Monster King. After seeing Karin's ability, the Man Monster King went to the Revolutionary Army headquarters. Sanji escaped halfway, but was captured by Germa. In that case, leave the clone behind and go ahead. Thank you very much, Lord Liu Sha. The happiest person is Orochimaru. Big Mom's territory is known as the kingdom and has the largest number of human races in the world. They are all good materials for research. The marriage happened in advance and the Straw Hats were still practicing, so no one would save Sanji. Andy's tea party will be held for a while. Fishman Island is Andy's territory. Kimimaro and Shiro are giving you a mission. If you occupy Fishman Island, you will definitely conflict with Andy. Then we will take this as an opportunity to go to the 10,000 kingdoms to receive its Andy's territory. With the Shichibukai and the 4 emperors, the blessings you will receive are about the same. Kimimaro may be able to break through to the 6th path level. Yes. After introducing the mission to everyone, Liu Sha finished the ninjutsu. Everyone else has something to do, so it's time for you to find something to do. Unfortunately, there was one thing that interested him. But before Liu Sha went to find Sakaski, Sakaski sent people to find Liu Sha first. There's something that may require you to go out. Oh, what's the matter? Is the 5 old stars causing trouble? Liu Sha subconsciously thought that Wu Leoxing was causing trouble for herself. Sakaski denied, it has nothing to do with the 5 old stars. Originally, Ye Cang went there, but Ye Cang said that he was going to investigate the missing children of G5. You also knew about it, Poruzalino, so you had to go where? Beehive Island, Rocky Port. Liu set up a bureau to donate the hearts of 100 Wangzhai's subordinates to the Navy to join the Shichibukai. There is still no news after Major General Kabai sneaked into Rocky Port. Blackbeard and Wang Zhai made the surrounding people miserable, and is there a problem with the naval crackdown? Liu Sha smiled. She was really dozing off and someone gave her a pillow. I also want to go to Rocky Port. He also wanted to see Blackbeard, a man with the potential to be the final boss. End of this chapter. Chapter 286 Sakaski's Request. Chapter 286 Sakaski's Request New World. On the huge naval ship, Liu Sha lay leisurely on the deck and basked in the sun. The navy on the ship was given to him by Sakaski. With Liu Sha's top combat power, everyone was thinking about it. Boat. Following a popular general like Liu Sha, the future is endless. Even Bailey Good, a Daodu fruit user, and Ziyu En, a rust fruit user who gave Liu Sha the assessment, also volunteered to come on board. The two were even willing to give up their military ranks and start over as private soldiers. Even Fujitora, the general candidate, strongly requested to follow Rasa. Originally, the general had a lieutenant general on board to help, but he was just an ordinary lieutenant general. A candidate for general like Fujitora who had the strength of a general was not much worse than the general in terms of status. However, Fujitora strongly requested and Lyuosha did not object, so Sakaski just went along with the situation. For Fujitora, seeing the absolutely strong Rasa in his heart, he really wanted to know what Rasa wanted to do. Zuen, how many days are there from Beehive Island? Fujitora asked. Lieutenant General Fujitora, at the normal pace there are still 3 days, but we still have to pass through Whitebeard's territory, so it should take 5 days. Shuen replied. I know. Fujitora nodded. To be honest, he regretted it a little. It was originally to observe Lyuosha, but who would have thought that since he boarded the ship, Lyuosha would just ask Lieutenant General Fujitora for everything except Sakaski's orders. Directly act as a hands-off shopkeeper. This work attitude is almost as good as Kizaru Poruzalino's. Lyuosha didn't agree with this. Kizaru was always concerned about big and small things, and he was never careless about big things. General Lyuosha, we are almost at Whitebeard's territory. You should tell us what you are here for. Is this a special deed or just to clean up Whitebeard's old troops? There was resentment in Fujitora's tone, and his titles became more formal. He is also a lazy person, but he meets Lyuosha, who is even more lazy. Whitebeard's old army is naturally not worthy of our action, but is Whitebeard Roman too interested? Lyuosha didn't mind either. He had become a shopkeeper and could just listen to complaints. He directly told Fujitora his purpose of coming. Not that he was worried about someone from the government leaking information on the ship before, but now that he's here, it doesn't matter. After Whitebeard's death, part of Whitebeard's territory was taken away by Blackbeard, and part of it was destroyed by Whitebeard Roman II. And because they are basically non-franchised countries, the world government doesn't bother to care at all. Whitebeard Roman II? Edward Weeble. He's not worthy of our action, right? Because of Zephyr. Fujitora had naturally heard of it. He claimed to be Whitebeard's son and hunted down the captains of the Whitebeard pirates everywhere. He was very powerful. One of Zephyr's arms was cut off by Weeble. It couldn't be because of Whitebeard's captain. Then it could only be because of Zephyr. Congratulations, you got the answer right. It's just Marshal Sakaski's request. Rasa gave an answer that surprised Fujitora. Thinking of the scene where Sakaski solemnly asked her to do something, Sakaski had really changed. Just a few days ago, after Sakaski and Lyuosha talked about Beehive Island, he sincerely made a personal request to Lyuosha. Lyuosha, I hope you will pass by the Whitebeard pirates' territory on your way to Beehive Island and help me kill a pirate. It's rare to see Sakaski make such a solemn request. Kill who? Whitebeard Roman II, Edward Weeble. Is it because of Zephyr? He also guessed the reason, but Lyuosha was still a little surprised that Zephyr asked him sincerely. Sighing, Sakaski explained, yes. Although it has not been announced yet, the world government has confirmed to invite Edward Weeble to become the new King Shichibukai. That fool has this qualification? Isn't he Kimimaro? I originally thought that with the addition of Kimimaro, Edward Weeble should be eliminated, but thinking about the hatred between Edward Weeble and Zephyr, Lyuosha immediately figured it out. It's a good calculation. You can also see it. Although I clearly expressed my objection, it was of no use. Thanks to your advice last time, I had an in-depth chat with Mr. Zephyr and found out that Mr. Zephyr already had the idea of leaving the Navy. Okay. After an in-depth conversation between the two of us, Teacher Zephyr expressed his understanding to me and has temporarily given up the idea. However, if the original murderer, Edward Weeble, becomes the king's Shichibukai, Teacher Zephyr will definitely not be able to accept it. After hearing Lyuosha's opinion, Sakaski had a long talk with Zephyr, Warring States and he. Several seniors gave their own opinions. which were basically similar to what Liu Sha said. In fact, everyone could see it. Sakaski's idea is to actively cooperate. It was Sakaski who was too proud. Only then did Sakaski realize that he was terribly wrong. Fortunately, he had time to correct his mistake in time. And because of this move, Liu Sha gained more favor from Zephyr and others. However, even if it is resolved, Sakaski is still afraid, because Zephyr clearly stated that due to the combination of various factors, he has the idea of leaving the Navy to create a neo-Navy. With Zephyr's prestige, almost all the Navy generals are Zephyr's apprentices. Rebelling against the Navy will be a fatal blow to the Navy. Fortunately, that didn't happen. It took a lot of effort to appease Zephyr because of his frankness, but it turned out that the 5 old stars obviously did not want the Navy to be stabilized again, and decided to make Whitebeard Roman II Edward Weibel the new Shichibukai. The reason is Weibel's strong strength, but with the addition of this world conscription, what does Weibel's strength mean but Wu Leoxing's decision, even if Sakaski objects, is still useless. But this time Sakaski is not going to endure it anymore. If Weibel becomes the new Shichibukai, it will be a huge blow to Zephyr. Although he may not leave the Navy after he comes out honestly, it is still possible that such a thing will not happen. It's better not to happen. Teacher Zephyr has dedicated his life to the Navy, which is hard enough. But Weibel's strength was so strong that the only person in the Navy who could stabilize one end of the force was the general candidate. When Liu Sha went to Beehive Island, he simply left it to Liu Sha. It's a request, not a task. It's a rare request from the Marshal, so I won't refuse it. Sakaski made such a request, so naturally he had to give face, just a Weibel. Anyway, the recruitment of Weibel is still in the discussion stage. The response to Sakaski and Liu Sha is very simple, just kill them in advance. As for accountability, it is not normal for the Navy to capture pirates and kill them. That's it. Kill Weibel conveniently, and then go to Beehive Island. After telling Fujitora the whole story, Fujitora didn't say a word, not because he was against it, but because he was surprised by Ross's energy. Sakaski's change is not a secret in the Navy. The source is the conversation with Liu Sha. Not only Sakaski, because of Aramaki's incident, all the Navy generals have a good impression of Liu Sha. Even the older generation Zephyr, Sengoku, and he admire Liu Sha very much. If something happens to Sakaski now, there will be no objection to Liu Sha being promoted to Marshal directly. You must know that Liu Sha is a lakemer like himself, and is not a talent trained by the Navy. Could this be the legendary personality charm? End of this chapter. Chapter 287 We Are the Navy, You Are the Pirate. Chapter 287 We Are the Navy, You Are the Pirate, a non-world franchise country, formerly Whitebeard's territory, where its AO pirate group is stationed. When Whitebeard was alive, Whitebeard's flag was a deeder talisman for pirates. No matter how ferocious and arrogant the pirate was, when he saw Whitebeard's pirate flag, he would either choose to deeder or stay honest. They went ashore to resupply and did not dare to make any mistakes. Otherwise, even if he escapes to the territory of the other 4 emperors, he will still be hunted down to despair in the New World. But now after Whitebeard's death, the territory where the Whitebeard pirate flag was planted seems to have turned into fragrant fat, and everyone wants to take a bite. Although Whitebeard was originally dead, strong men such as Marco, Diamond, Josie, and Foil Bista were still there, so it wouldn't be the case. However, there was an irresolvable hatred of Blackbeard for killing his father, and after Blackbeard came to the New World, he wanted to seize Whitebeard's territory. Under the new and old hatred, he fought to the death. Except for a few main locations, it was impossible to take into account the numerous previous sites. It happened that the house leaked and it rained all night. At this time, Whitebeard's former lover, Bajin, who was with the Rocks Pirates, came to Whitebeard's territory with Weibel, who called himself Whitebeard Roman II, and told Marco that he was Whitebeard. Bearded's son asked to take over the Whitebeard pirates. The result was naturally rejected by Marco, and a fight broke out between the 2 parties. Although Weibel is strong, he is not the opponent of Marco and others. Remembering the old relationship between Barkin and Whitebeard, Marco did not kill him, but let Bajin and Weibel go. It's a pity that the two people not only didn't appreciate it, but also launched a crazy revenge on Marco. Although they were not the opponents of Marco, Diamond, Josie, and Foil Bista, the other Whitebeard captains could not beat Weibel, and Weibel killed many Whitebeard captains. Moreover, Bajin and Weibel left immediately after killing the people without any delay, giving Marco no chance to catch up. Marco and others also suffered from headaches several times. On the one hand, they have to fight Blackbeard, and on the other hand, there are troublesome Bajin and Weibel in the rear. Originally, everyone was not as strong as Blackbeard. Especially after Aokiji joined the Blackbeard pirates, this gap has become more and more obvious. A large number of territories have been lost and a large number of people have died. In desperation, Marco had no choice but to shrink his defense line, entangle his troops, and prepare for the final battle with Blackbeard. If he continues to consume it, he will not even have the foundation for a decisive battle with Blackbeard. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Bajin and Weibel started killing again and again, but Marco had no time to care. This time we came to the territory of the AO pirates. Damn it, don't you claim to be my father's son? Why are you destroying my father's territory? If you are really my father's child, then go kill Blackbeard to avenge my father. Why do you keep targeting us? AO's weapon-colored blade was densely covered, and the blackened long sword collided with Weibel's broadsword. However, like a mantis blocking a car, it was directly knocked away by Weibel, and the blade was directly broken. AO was also helpless. Although he had a bounty of over million and mastered the weaponry, Weibel was like a monster. Many captains who were stronger than him died under Weibel's sword. Now is another important moment for the decisive battle with Blackbeard. Marco has informed them that they can just run away when they see Weibel and Barkin. The problem was that this time Weibel came too fast, and he didn't even have time to escape. Upon hearing AO's question, Weibel, who was about to continue killing, stopped his attack and touched his head. Yes, mother, isn't this my father's territory? Why do I want to destroy my father's territory? And that Blackbeard, my father's murderer, let's help Marco kill him. At this time, Bajin climbed up from behind Weibel onto Weibel's shoulders and slapped Weibel on the face. Although he was slapped in the face, Weibel did not dare to resist at all. Instead, he looked down in fear like a child who had made mistakes. Bajin scolded, "Who makes them deny that you are Whitebeard's son? And that Marco, they must be afraid that you will take away his rights after becoming the captain of the Whitebeard pirates. They are all rebels, everyone should be killed. As for Blackbeard, it won't be too late to settle the score when you become stronger in the future." Thinking of being kicked out by Marco, Bajin couldn't help but get angry. If he hadn't acted out in tears, he and Weibel would have been imprisoned even if they hadn't died. As for Blackbeard, just kidding, Weibel is the opponent of the Blackbeard pirates. You must know that Blackbeard currently has Aokiji, a former Navy admiral, under his command. You can still talk about feelings with Marco, but if you get to Blackbeard, that's asking for death. Weibel is dead, what else do I hope for? Weibel, since they don't admit that you are Whitebeard's son, then we also don't admit that they are your father's subordinates. Go and kill them all. Weibel immediately put on his angry face again. Mom was right, damn Marco, damn Bista. They didn't admit that I was Dad's son, and they said Dad didn't have a son like me. You are not my father's subordinates! Armed color poured into the broadsword, and the sword fell with a sudden strike, breaking the clouds in the sky into two halves. Although his IQ is worrisome, Whitebeard Roman 2 brute force is not weak, otherwise he would not be able to cut off one of Zepha's hands. An aging general is also a general. The ground was shattered, and the entire AO pirate group was not sure whether it was alive or dead. Bajin looked at his results with satisfaction and urged Weibel to leave immediately. Although Marco is currently busy fighting Blackbeard, it will be troublesome if he catches up. If he is blocked by Marco and others again, he will definitely not survive. But as soon as the two turned around, they saw two people wearing navy cloaks of justice appearing in front of them not far away. One is cynical, the other has a cross scar on his face. Navy, why are you standing in front of me? Are you here to cause trouble for me? Weibel raised his knife. He was a wanted criminal and the Navy had killed many people. He still remembered the strongest one. The elderly uncle's hands were as armed as his own and could block his own sword. He couldn't even beat that uncle at all. If Mother hadn't caught that uncle's student, she would have been defeated. Later, I took the opportunity to cut off one of his hands and didn't dare to stay any longer. Even if I only had one hand, I didn't have the confidence to defeat the uncle. But now the auras exuding from the two people opposite seemed to be stronger than that of the uncle back then. Weibel became a little uneasy and turned to look at Ba Jin. Mom, they are so strong, what should I do? Ba Jin's face turned green. He often read newspapers and naturally recognized the identities of Liu Sha and Fujitora. However, this was Whitebeard's territory. As a result, Marco and others did not bet on him, but were blocked by the Navy. Admiral Magellan Rasa, candidate for Admiral Fujitora Yixiao, why are you here? Liu Sha smiled and said, we are the Navy and you are the pirates. Why do you think we are here? End of this chapter. Chapter 288 Why didn't I know you were Qi Wuhai? Chapter 288 Why didn't I know you were a Shichibukai? Rasa and Fujitora had already come when Weibel was fighting against the AO pirates, but they were Marines and had no obligation to rescue the pirates, so they were happy to watch the show. Now that the play is over, it's time for them to take action. Bajin was sweating. As a member of the Rocks Pirates, he had fought with the Navy all his life. He knew the power of the Navy better than anyone else. Understand better what the Admiral represents. Although Rasa and Fujitora both rose to the top through world conscription, they will only become stronger if they can defeat former Admiral substitutes Momo Uzagi and Cha Du. Not even one Weibel was an opponent, let alone two in front of them. Bajin comforted Weibel, who was also anxious not to take action, and said with a smile, you two, there may be some misunderstanding. We are helping your Navy conquer the Whitebeard pirates. You don't know that the world government has already contacted us and invited Weibel. Bull has become the new Shichibukai, and we are now a team. Fujitora frowned, it's the Shichibukai again. Why is there such an unreasonable system as the Shichibukai? Burning, killing, and looting in the name of the world government. One of Fujitora's purposes in joining the Navy was to find an opportunity to abolish the Shichibukai. But now it was Liu Sha who was in charge, so he turned around and waited for Liu Sha's opinion. Shichibukai? It's really funny. Are you saying it's the Shichibukai? Has the world government recognized it? Has it been made public? Are there any documents? As an admiral, why don't I know about it? Does Fujitora know? Fujitora was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and said with a smile, I don't know either. We don't even know a Navy admiral or an admiral candidate. You say it's the Shichibukai or the Shichibukai. You're making fun of the Navy, and you're guilty of an extra level. It's true. The world government has sent people to sign a treaty with us. They will be there in a moment. If you don't believe me, just wait a while. Ba Jin said quickly. Rasa felt very lucky. The world government or the 5 old stars were very quick. If he and Fujitora were a step slower, it would be a fact that Weibel would become a Shichibukai. How does Sepha accept this? You must know that both Kimimaro and Liu still have conditions to talk about, but Weibel has no conditions to join directly. What is it if it is not aimed at Sepha? Are you kidding? You told us to wait, so we just waited? Do you know how precious the Admiral's time is? There is not much time, Fujitora, you do it and I do it. Either one of them can kill Weibel, and if they do it together, it will become a compliment. Fujitora said, there is no reason for the general to take action here. I will do it. Without further ado, he drew out the staff knife to release gravity and locked onto Weibel. Bajin still didn't understand that Liu Sha wanted to kill them all, and he could probably guess the reason. After cutting off Zepha's arm, she knew Zepha's status in the Navy. Whenever she met a strong man in the Navy, Bajin would always take a detour. But you, Rasa and Fujitora, are not from the Navy, so why are you so desperate? When fighting against a strong person of this level, Bajin would escape early every time, but this time Fujitora released the gravity in advance, and she couldn't even run away. She is already old and was not very strong when she was young. She cannot bear the aftermath of such a battle. Weibel also wanted to throw Bajin out, but in this situation, he did not dare to be careless about Fujitora's attack. He activated his weapon with all his strength, resisting Fujitora's gravity, and his broadsword collided with Fujitora's staff. Kai la la. Black lightning bursts. The first person who couldn't hold on was Bajin. Under Fujitora's gravity, Bajin's bones were broken countless times, and a mouthful of blood spat out on Weibel's shoulder. Mother. Weibel was so anxious that he flicked away Fujitora with his knife, took Bajin off his shoulder and placed it on the ground. Fujitora also temporarily stopped his attack. He was a little surprised. Although he felt that Bajin was not very strong, he was a former crew member of the Rocks Pirates. He thought he was plotting against him, but he didn't expect that he was really so weak. The gravity just now was exerting its full force. Bajin probably wouldn't be able to survive after suffering this blow. He still felt a little guilty in his heart, as this was somewhat contrary to his martial arts. Rasa stepped forward and patted Fujitora on the back. People in the pirate world were all too tall. Fujitora was nearly 3 meters tall, which made Rasa, who was used to patting people on the shoulders, very uncomfortable. Okay, people like Bajin have countless blood on their hands. There is no need for you to blame yourself for her. When Zepha's hand was cut off, it was because she threatened Zepha with the life of a new sailor. Otherwise, you would think Zepha was old. Can someone like Weibel be defeated? Rasa's words made Fujitora feel better. I feel that Weibel's strength is worse than Zepha's. Although his brute force is not weak, fighting does not rely solely on brute force. Zepha has been an instructor for his entire life and has rich combat experience. Even if his strength is not as good as Weibel's when he gets old, it's not like Weibel can cut off his hand. I see, that's right. Even Whitebeard's son is only as powerful as Whitebeard. Because he is both Whitebeard's son and not Whitebeard's son. Liu Sha really understands Weibel's life experience thanks to Kaido, who was in the Rocks Pirates with Barkin, and Quinn, who was in the same laboratory. What does General Liu Sha mean? Fujitora was confused as to whether he was Whitebeard's son or not Whitebeard's son. To put it simply, Barkin and Whitebeard did have a relationship. They also had a son, but unfortunately, their son died in infancy, and Barkin could not accept the death of his son, so he used his son's cells to clone a son came out. This matter was strongly opposed by Whitebeard, but Barkin insisted on having her own way because she had successfully cloned herself. But the cloning technology was not mature at the time, and the laboratory was taken over by the government. Vegapunk, Quinn, Vinsmoke, and Caesar left, leaving her alone to operate randomly, so the cloned Weibel failed. Whitebeard did not recognize such a clone as his son, and the two parted ways. The corners of Fujitora's mouth twitched. This was really confusing. No one else, let alone Whitebeard, could accept it. At this time, Bajin, who took over Fujitora's gravity with Weibel, spat out a mouthful of blood, and his life came to an end. Mom. Weibel yelled, "Mom is dead!" He picked up the sword and glared at Fujitora. I am going to kill you. Fujitora sighed. If you know the death of a loved one is so painful, why do you inflict this pain on others? Fujitora was still unafraid, twitching his staff and sword, and fought Weibel again. Just as the two were fighting fiercely, 2 CPs ran from a distance. Seeing Rasa and Fujitora fighting Weibel, they quickly said, "General Rasa, Please be merciful. Weibel has been confirmed to become the new King Shichibukai. Go on, fight quickly, Rasa said to the hesitant Fujitora. Fujitora's weapon color and gravity were fully activated, and even the crazy Weibel was beaten to blood. The two CPs quickly accelerated, trying to stop it. When they came closer and were about to speak, a Tao-seeking Jade turned into a sharp blade and cut the two of them in half. The two fell down in shock, unable to believe that Liu Sha would take action against them. Fujitora also knocked Weibel off his horse almost at the same time. Toot, toot. The phone in one of the CP's arms rang. Liu Sha took it. How's it going? I am General Liu Sha. Weibel rejected the Shichibukai's invitation and killed two CPs. Now he has been killed by our troops. End of this chapter. Chapter 289, the G5 base waiting for Ye Cang's explanation. Chapter 289, the G5 base waiting for Ye Cang's explanation. Vergo, don't worry. If that Ye Cang dares to cause trouble for you, I will be the first to disagree. Smoker, who was holding a bloody cigar, patted Vergo on the back. The navy behind them were all gearing up and seemed to be extremely insulted. Don't worry, Base Commander Vergo. Even if he is a general, we will ask him to give us an explanation. He actually questioned Base Commander Vergo's investigation. Did we think that the child was missing? What kind of bullshit general does he know every time the child disappears? If something goes wrong, the director of Base Vergo will be searching for it for several days without sleep, so why should she question it? Thank you everyone, but we still have to cooperate with General Ye Cang. If we can really find the children, we will also have an explanation to the parents of the children. Vergo pushed up his sunglasses, seemingly trying to hold back tears, which made the already angry Navy even more indignant. But no one saw the sinister thing hidden under the sunglasses. Navy G5 Base. As one of the few branches of the Navy located in the New World, the Navy here is known as a troubled legion. Many of them are people who have been abandoned and unwanted by other naval bases. It is known as a gathering place for naval gangsters. However, the fact is that the people who come to G5 are arrogant and dissatisfied with the world government. Their attitude towards pirates is more inclined to kill them directly rather than arrest them. They insisted on serving the people's justice and refused to obey the rules. The Navy had no choice but to send them all to G5. However, under the leadership of G5's base commander and troop commander Smoker, the current G5 branch's combat power has soared. It vigorously eliminated the surrounding pirates and gained the love of the surrounding people. However, compared to the newly appointed Lieutenant General Smoker, base commander Oneju Vergo is more popular among the people. When G5 was not yet recognized, it was Vergo who took these undesirable sailors and fought battle after battle in the waters near G5. He has won the respect of the Thorns in the G5, the support of the surrounding people, and the recognition of the Navy branch. It can be said that without Vergo, there would be no Navy G5 branch today. Not only that, although Vergo was merciless when fighting, he was very kind to the Navy officers, without any temper, and they ate and lived with them. Among the G5 branch, whether among civilians or the Navy, Vergo claims to be the second most loved one, and no one dares to call him the first. However, a few days ago, the joint investigation report sent by the Navy caused an uproar in the G5 branch because the newly appointed General Ye Cang was coming to the G5 branch to thoroughly investigate the missing children that have occurred in recent years. Because of Vergo's good governance and the stability around the G5, trade and personnel exchanges have become closer. Many more people have settled here, and there are also many more children. But in recent years, children have continued to disappear. This matter has always been a pain for the G5 branch. Faced with the parents of their children who came to ask for help one after another, Vergo felt more uncomfortable than anyone else. He often spent several days personally searching for it on the vast sea. In the end, only a few personal belongings such as children's clothes were recovered. It is extremely uncomfortable to inform the parents that the child may have suffered a shipwreck. However, despite the strict prohibition, the children still ignored it and always destroyed the fence established by the Navy and ran to play on the beach, resulting in more and more missing children. As a result, the Navy now organizes regular patrols along the coastline. Everyone in the G5 branch tried their best to find the child, but there was nothing they could do about the uncertain sea. As a result, the newly appointed Navy Admiral Ye Cang suddenly proposed to come to G5 to restart the investigation of the missing children. G5's Navy was originally a thorn in the side, and Ye Cang obviously meant that he didn't believe G5's investigation results. This was the most intolerable thing for G5. Although they are all disobedient, their concept of justice in their hearts is stronger than that of many naval generals. This reopening of the investigation is simply an insult to them. Thinking about it, today is almost the day when Ye Cang will arrive. The reason why everyone is waiting information here is actually to let Ye Cang give them an explanation. What about the generals cannot slander them either. However, after waiting for a long time, there was still no sign of Ye Cang, and they all became a little impatient. What are you doing? Can a general be so playful? She is a general recruited from the world and has killed several pirates. Why should she make us wait like this? We want to protest to the Navy headquarters. Seeing the anger among the people, Smoker waved his hand to appease everyone and then said to Dasky, go and contact me. What's going on? Then he said to Vergo, don't worry, Vergo. If she really wants to gain power over you, you and I will go find Teacher Zephyr together. Marshal of the Warring States period. The Navy is not anyone's fault. Vergo nodded and said nothing, but his heart became more and more uneasy. Why did Ye Cang inexplicably propose to restart the investigation of the missing children? You must know that he has been lurking in the Navy for more than 10 years, and he can be regarded as a disciple of Zephyr. He has countless merits. Even if General Ye Cang wants to make meritorious deeds after taking office, he should not come to him. There are so many big pirates, just go out to sea and catch a few, unless his identity is exposed. But there are only a few people who know their identity, and there is no possibility of being exposed. Even the Warring States period has not discovered it for so many years. The more I think about it, the more uneasy I become. Especially why Ye Cang didn't show up for so long. What is this newly appointed first female admiral planning? After a while, Dasky ran back in a hurry. Report to the commander of Base Vergo and Lieutenant General Smoker. I have just contacted Major General Ain under General Ye Cang. If they don't come, G5 has already arrived in the Punk Hassad Sea area. General Ye Cang has landed on the island. Let us all members of the G5 branch are on standby. Punk Hassad? What are Ye Cang doing there? The place is already deserted. Smoker was confused. Although Punk Hassad was not far from G5, it was not close either. The original Punk Research Institute was now abandoned, especially since Aokiji and Akinu fought in Punk Hassad for 10 days and 10 nights. Punk Hassad has become an island of ice and fire. The environment is extremely harsh and it is impossible for humans to survive. After several inspections, Vergo has ordered the G5 Navy not to approach Punk Hassad to avoid injury. If any pirates escape, he can just go out and deal with it. Just as he was about to discuss it with Vergo, he saw that Vergo disappeared directly with his shaver, and then seemed to be heading towards Punk Hassad in a moonwalk. Smoker turned into smoke and chased after Vergo. Vergo, what are you doing? Go away. There was a chilling air in Vergo's words. This was something Smoker had never seen before. In his impression, Vergo had never been so out of his mind. Even when he was being teased by the Navy at the base, he laughed. The current appearance is completely different. Vergo didn't care about Smoker's reaction. Ye Cang went straight to Punk Hassad. He must have known something. There is also Mingja's Research Institute, an artificial fruit raw material factory there. which Ye Cang must not discover. Watching Vergo leave blankly, Smoker still didn't react. Vergo's reaction was really abnormal. The aura he exuded at that moment was like a pirate. Smoker landed back at the port, and Dusky stepped forward and said, "Lieutenant General Smoker, us. Prepare the warships and set off for Punk Hassad." End of this chapter. Chapter 290 Monet's Surrender. Chapter 290 Monet's Surrender. Vergo was so anxious that he never expected that Ye Cang would go directly to Punk Hassad, and his preparations for G5 were almost useless. The question now is, have you been exposed? Beep, beep, beep. The hidden phone bug in his arms rang. Vergo took out the phone bug, and the phone bug immediately turned into Caesar's panicked face. "Vergo, what should we do?" "The new admiral of the Navy, Ye Cang, has landed and rushed towards the laboratory. He must have mastered the human experiment. It is already too late to escape." The phone bug cried bitterly. Through surveillance, Caesar discovered a naval warship approaching. He didn't pay much attention at first until he discovered that it was Ye Cang who landed on the island. Caesar received a reminder from Vergo a few days ago, but Caesar didn't pay attention. Ye Cang came to investigate the disappearance of the children, but the disappearance occurred at the G5 base. No matter how he investigated, Punk Hassad should not be found. Who would have thought that Ye Cang actually came to kill him directly? Because I didn't pay attention, I wasn't fully prepared, and now it's too late to run away. He immediately called Vergo. Vergo said as he hurried on, "I have received the news and am heading to your side." "Where is Monet?" "Monet is reporting to Doflamingo to see if he can contact the 5 old stars to stop Ye Cang." At this time, the phone bug turned into Monet, ended the call with the young master, and immediately came over to convey Doflamingo's meaning. "Vergo, I'm Monet. The young master has already contacted Wu Leoxing, but I am afraid that it will be too late, so I will try my best to delay the time." What the young master means is that if Punk Hassad cannot be saved, then I will save you, and the young master will bear the responsibility. The worst thing about all the guilt is that the Shichibukai is deprived of him and he has to get it back later. Vergo frowned. Ye Cang did not go to the G5 base, but went directly to Punk Hassad. Even if I was not exposed, I reported the missing children as shipwrecks several times, and I could not escape being held accountable afterwards. But it is indeed the best solution at the moment. Monet, you will stabilize Ye Cang in the name of young Master Qi Wuhai, and then wait for my arrival. If there is a chance we will kill Ye Cang. Is Vergo crazy? Ye Cang is a general. Even if the two of us join forces, we are no match for her. Although he did not have a brilliant record, Akira became a general by relying on the world recruitment. Even if it is not as shocking as the hundreds of meteorites falling from the sky, the shooting record is only against Fujitora, but the gasification of huge meteorites is definitely a real deal. General level. Although Vergo is not weak among lieutenant generals and has reached the point where he is fully armed, he is still no match for a general-level master. Not to mention that he is a snow fruit, and if he encounters Ye Cang's burning fruit, he will be tortured. And Caesar's fighting ability is not worth mentioning. That's not necessarily the case. Ye Cang became a general through world conscription. He doesn't have a deep foundation in the Navy. If he dies, he may attract the magnetic dragon. But when the time comes, we will remove the people and equipment from Punk Hassad. There will be no proof of evacuation. And although I do not deny Ye Cang's strength, if Caesar's fruit ability is difficult to guard against in the first battle, even a general will fall into it, and that's our chance. Caesar's gas fruit is of the natural type after all, and Caesar has developed a unique technique to suck out the air. This move was insurmountable if not prepared in advance. Even Vergo was hit by the move for the first time, and even Doflamingo was unable to escape the result of instant fainting. Ye Cang certainly didn't understand Caesar. As long as Ye Cang was unprepared to take the air out of his body and kill Ye Cang at the moment of fainting, there would be a chance. Although it is troublesome to kill a general, it can definitely be solved with a young master's ability. Moreover, Ye Cang has no foundation in the Navy, so dying so easily shows his lack of ability. Anyway, everything will depend on my gestures when the time comes. Monet and Caesar looked at each other, and they might as well give it a try. If Monet said he was the one to blame, then he and Caesar would definitely not be able to escape being captured by Ye Cang. Although killing Ye Cang is a risky move, it is still an opportunity for a general like Ye Cang who has no backing. Ye Cang, on the other hand, has already led Ain and others to approach Caesar's Research Institute headquarters. Unlike Luo Sha, the first female general in the Navy, Ye Cang received more attention than Luo Sha. The only one close to this position is he. When he was young, the only generals were Zephyr and Sengoku. After Garp rejected the position of general one after another, the government originally intended to make he the general. But the young and energetic Crane thought it was Garp's charity and refused. Even the current Mamotu is actually worse than the Crane of the past. Although he is a candidate for general, if he really does not conduct world conscription to rise to the top, he will not be able to compare with the strength of Kizaru, Akenu and Aokiji. But now in Ye Cang he admits that even if he returns to the top he is no match, and his rise to the top is justified. However, even though she became a general, personnel supply became a problem. Since she was the first female general in history, the Navy hoped to form a team of all female soldiers. But the female soldiers are basically under the control of he and Mamotu, and Mamoto doesn't have Fujitura's idea of being Ye Cang's deputy. In the end, various arrangements were made. Zephyr also assigned Ain to Ye Cang as his deputy, and then the team was formed. However, after learning that Ye Cang's first mission was to investigate the disappearance, what he got was incomprehension. This matter has been concluded. G5 base director Vergo investigated it many times and even resigned due to guilt due to repeated incidents, but it was not approved. As Vergo, who developed the exiled branch of G5 into an elite branch, he had a good reputation in the Navy, and many people even came to persuade Ye Cang. Ye Cang insisted on going his own way, which naturally attracted a lot of opposition. As a result, Ye Cang did not go to G5 but went straight to Punkhasad, which was even more confusing. He even refused everyone to contact the outside world before arriving at Punkhasad. However, as the team went deeper and deeper, the truth about Punkhasad was gradually revealed. Even though they were confused, the Navy also kept their mouths shut, because Punkhasad is anything but simple. The facility that should have been abandoned is still running intact, and there are even a large number of guards, and there are even huge fire dragons and salamander monsters blocking it. Everything is unusual. At the same time, for the first time, he intuitively felt the strength of Ye Cang, the new general. After all, the only people who can watch the world's military conscription are major generals. I heard that seeing is not believing. The fire dragon is now roasted dragon meat, and the poisonous gas salamander is burned into nothingness. You must know that the fire dragon flies out of the magma, which means it is immune to ordinary flames, but Ye Cang's fireball directly took it away. There is also a poisonous salamander, which is actually a devil fruit eaten by gas. Who operated this when Ye Cang relied on sensory ninjutsu to lead everyone directly to a room and found the mutated children who were used as experimental subjects. The female team members even exploded with maternal instincts and became furious. Who did this? They actually conduct such cruel and inhumane experiments on children! The doubts about Ye Cang were long gone. While everyone was angry, a green-haired woman walked out of the shadows. The Admiral is really great, Lord Heikura. Monet, the subordinate of Doflamingo in the Shichibukai, has surrendered. End of this chapter. Chapter 291 Vergo acting. Chapter 291 Vergo acting. Since he has not yet reached a cooperation with Luo, Monet is still a normal person at this time and does not look like a birdman. He pushed up his glasses and smiled. He didn't seem to be afraid even when facing Ye Cang. Shichibukai Doflamingo. Haha, so can I understand that you are threatening me with Doflamingo? Ye Cang turned to look at Ain. What should I do? Should I show some fear? After all, this is the king's Shichibukai. It's so scary. Then he lowered his face, and his whole body exuded a blazing temperature, locked on Monet's body. So, why do you think that I, a naval admiral, are afraid of Doflamingo? Doflamingo's men are fine, right? I didn't know who the mastermind behind it was at first, but now you take the initiative to confess and deal with it. I'm going to catch Doflamingo. Listening to Ye Cang's answer, Monet was not only not afraid but also happy. Ye Cang's words meant that she didn't know about Vergo, and she didn't even know that the boss behind Punk Hazard was Doflamingo. Not only was Monet relieved, but there was also the phone bug on Monet's chest. Vergo, who arrived, also breathed a sigh of relief. What is most scary now is that Ye Cang knows that Vergo is Doflamingo's undercover agent. Although it is troublesome to conduct human experiments on children in Punk Hazard, it can still be settled compared with playing tricks on the Navy and even becoming a lieutenant general and the base commander of a large base undercover. After all, this matter is nothing to the Celestial Dragons. Even if Doflamingo is a former Celestial Dragon, he still has some privileges, which is far more important than the other kings of the Shichibukai. Monet felt relieved and said, General Ye Cang, although you are a general, are you sure you want to arrest us? Watch your tone. My fruit is a fire fruit. My temper is not as good as you think. Even if Doflamingo is King Shichibukai, I don't remember that human experimentation is within the conditions allowed by the government. Although he said he had a bad temper, he still didn't take action. Monet became more and more emboldened. General Ye Cang, you must also know the past identity of Lord Doflamingo. Is this a mistake for the Tianlong people? Let's do this. You take all the children away and we promise you to terminate this experiment. In fact, this trial has been a failure because these kids become unstable as long as they don't take the medication. Before Ye Cang could speak, the Navy soldiers who followed behind him couldn't bear it. As women, when they saw the tragic situation of their children, they were already furious. Shut up, how could you kill these children? They are all lives. You can easily ruin the lives of these children. How can you say such irresponsible words so lightly? They were very angry, and each of them had a sense of justice that was no less than that of Nami's adoptive mother Bellamere. How could Monet be allowed to be so indifferent to the life of her child? Especially what Monet said is right. If such a crime was really committed by Doflamingo, the final result would probably be that a major incident turned into a trivial one. So they all turned their attention to Ye Cang, waiting for Ye Cang's treatment. Ye Cang did not disappoint everyone, condensing a fireball in his right hand. You also said that he is a former Tianlong. It's a pity that he doesn't have any privileges here. As the two chief advisors of Sunagakure village, Ye Cang is not a brainless person. On the contrary, his political abilities are very good, but he is masked by his hot temper and ability. During this trip to Punk Hazard, Master Liuosha was obviously far-sighted, and as a result, he excused Vergo one by one. He sensed that Vergo had arrived in Punk Hazard and rushed towards him at full speed. So Ye Cang was not in a hurry. She saw that Monet was stalling for time, so she also cooperated to stall for time. Vergo's crimes must be exposed to the world. As a woman, she also holds grudges against people who come to the G5 branch and complain that they are not good enough. Not only that, Ye Cang also simultaneously broadcast everything about Punk Hazard to the Navy headquarters through a live telephone bug. The face of the Navy headquarters is not good now. When Ye Cang said that there was a problem with the G5 branch, many people did not believe it, but now they have seen with their own eyes the children who were used as experimental materials. Even if there is no problem with Vergo, I'm afraid there is really a problem with G5. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the child to be sent all the way to Punk Hazard. And Monet's words are more like a slap in the face of all the Navy. Such disregard for human life and treating people as human beings is just because of such things. No matter how much the Navy does, it will be useless despite all the evil deeds of the celestial dragons. People also bring the Navy with them when they curse the celestial dragons. But they had no choice but to remain silent. At this time, Caesar saw that Ye Cang was about to take action, so he rushed out, raised his hands and said, "Don't attack, we surrender, we surrender." All they had to do was delay. There was no chance of a real fight between Ye Cang and Ye Cang. After all, Caesar could see through surveillance that neither the resurrected ancient dragon nor his pet poisonous salamander could catch Liu Sha's move. It would be the same if it were two people. Ain recognized Caesar and immediately told Ye Cang, "General Ye Cang, this is Caesar Brown, the former scientist wanted by the government." Yes, it's me. Let's surrender. Catch me." Caesar stretched out his hand, indicating that he would not resist. The only advantage of facing the Navy is that as long as they surrender, the Navy will not kill people. Looking at the tortured child, the Navy wanted to kill Caesar, but they were Navy and couldn't do this. At this time, a figure ran over quickly, hit Caesar in the face with a black bamboo pole, and drove Caesar into the wall. Damn it, something like this actually happened in my jurisdiction. I, Vergo, feel sorry for these children. Vergo's whole body turned into an armed color, and he couldn't help but tremble, as if he was blaming himself out of guilt and remorse. Caesar rubbed his face and lost several teeth. "You're playing a cruel trick, and it's me you're hitting. Why don't you take action against Monet next to you?" The Navy was on guard at first, but after seeing clearly that it was Vergo, and then seeing Vergo's sad look, they all felt a little bit unbearable. It seems that Vergo must have nothing to do with this incident, but the supervision is not strict. Vergo's good-natured character is also well known in the Navy. "I'm sorry, General Ye Cang. It was my negligence that caused such a thing to happen. I will resign to you as the G5 base director now." Vergo knelt on the ground sadly. Ye Cang didn't expose it and looked at Vergo's performance indifferently, even seeming to be moved. "Lieutenant General Vergo, you are also a victim. Get up quickly. Your resignation must be approved by Marshal Sakaski." "No, I cannot absolve myself from the blame for such a problem." As he spoke, he did not disarm. He even firmly grasped the pillar with his right hand and made a gesture of action with his left hand. Caesar instantly pulled away the oxygen from Ye Cang's side, and Vergo followed closely. Ghost bamboo became armed and pierced Ye Cang's chest. At the same time, he said to Monet, "Take action, leaving no one behind." The fleeting change stunned a Navy. Then Monet turned into a blizzard and came one after another. End of this chapter. Chapter 292, The Desperate Navy. Chapter 292, The Desperate Navy. Vergo didn't know that Ye Cang had been running a live broadcast, and his actions had been broadcast live to the Navy headquarters. On the contrary, I feel that the generals recruited from the world are only at this level. He does not deny that Ye Cang's hard power is definitely higher than his own, but hard power against others is only one part of it. Combat consciousness and experience often determine the final result. It is not uncommon for the weak to defeat the strong. So what if you, Ye Cang, have the ability to burn a meteorite instantly? Not only did he die under my scheme, his heart was pierced, and his life breath was flowing away rapidly. Especially the shock and unwillingness on his face made Vergo very satisfied. On the other side, Monet turned into a blizzard and was about to devour Ain and other sailors and children. A swirling and rolling white smoke struck, intertwined with Monet's blizzard. White whirlwind. Both belong to the natural system, even though they are called the most useless natural system, but they are still vice admirals, and Monet's blizzard was successfully offset. After the smoke dissipated, it gradually took on the appearance of Smoker, biting the cigar in his mouth and blowing out smoke from his nose in anger. "Vergo, do you know what you are doing?" It was Smoker who arrived just in time. Relying on the smoke to accelerate, they landed in Punk Hassad. Naturally, they also saw the situation in Punk Hasset along the way, as well as the children who were protected by Ain and other marines. There was also Vergo, who suddenly attacked and killed Ye Cang. Vergo shook his head with regret and pulled out the ghost bamboo that pierced Ye Cang's heart. Smorg, why are you chasing me? Originally, only the lives of Ye Cang and her men were enough, but now you have to be added. I really don't want to kill you. Giju made a noise, getting ready to attack, and saw the navy from other G5 branches running behind him. Really, it's not enough for you to come by yourself. You even brought G5 people. I have to supplement the navy from this time on. Admiral Ye Cang and the G5 branch navy were unfortunately killed in the Punk Hasset explosion when they investigated the disappearance of the child. Don't worry, I will apply for death allowance for you. Vergo is crazy! Locked in by Vergo's domineering power. Smoker could feel that Vergo really had murderous intentions and wanted to kill himself and all the navy present, including the G5 navy who had always regarded him as a spiritual pillar. Mr. Vergo, what are you doing? Why did you kill the admiral? We will collectively go to the Navy headquarters to seek justice for her distrust of you. A Navy man who was always on good terms with Vergo found Ye Cang lying at Vergo's feet, with a wound on his chest pierced by ghost bamboo, and asked in confusion. However, before he finished speaking, Vergo had already picked up Giju and disappeared in one fell swoop. Then Giju was about to smash his head. Just when the ghost bamboo was less than 1 centimeter away from the navy, Smoker arrived in time and caught Vergo's ghost bamboo with his 10 hands. The marine fell backwards and fell to the ground with inertia, his eyes full of disbelief that Vergo really wanted to kill him just now! Dusky and Ain, you and your men should retreat quickly. I am no match for Vergo. I don't know how long I can hold him back. Run quickly. Inform the navy that Vergo has rebelled. Although I don't know the reason why Vergo took action, there must be something wrong with Vergo. From learning that General Ye Cang was in Punk Hasset, he came in panic, to when the missing child was indeed here, and then suddenly attacked and killed Ye Cang. Obviously, everything about Punk Hasset has something to do with Vergo. Although Vergo is lazy, Smoker knows that he is not Vergo's opponent. Although the sparring in G5 was evenly divided, Vergo never took himself seriously. All he can do now is try his best to stop Vergo and reveal the news here to the Navy headquarters. However, the Navy attacked by Vergo still couldn't believe it and suddenly shouted, "You must not be the commander of the Vergo base. You are someone else pretending to be. The commander of the Vergo base would not do such a thing." The answer to him was Oni bamboo attacks again. This time, even with Smoker's obstruction, Giju still hit Heijun and knocked him away. Vergo looked at Smoker contemptuously. Stop me? Smoker, you don't think you are my opponent because you are also a lieutenant general. Everyone must die today. Caesar and Monet, why don't you take action? The cold air hit, and before the navy could start to escape, Monet had turned into fine snow to block the escape, and then the snow fruit activated, freezing the entire escape space into a thick layer of snow. Although Caesar's attack ability is not strong, he is of the natural type. He suddenly takes out the oxygen and knocks out a large number of marines at once. Smoker was anxious, but Vergo's attack had already arrived. The ghost bamboo mist was so airtight that he didn't dare to turn into smoke, otherwise he would only become a living target. On the Navy side, only Dasky, Ain, and a few outstanding Marines have mastery of domineering power, but Monet will not give these people a chance to get close at all. As long as Vergo takes care of Smoker, everything will be over. Navy headquarters, in front of the footage returned from the live broadcast. Just now, Vergo's attack had already caused everyone to shut down. Now that Vergo and Monet have joined forces to massacre the Navy and silence them, they are even more stunned. But you can tell by looking at them that Vergo is very familiar with Caesar and Monet and has a close relationship. Thinking of Ye Cang's support for Vergo when he proposed the investigation of G5, now I feel like my face has been swollen. This Vergo is simply crazy! Several lieutenant generals couldn't help but suddenly stood up and prepared to go to Punk Hassad to deal with Vergo. Sit down. Sengoku was in charge of watching. Sakaski had been supporting Ye Cang, and Zephyr went to Vegapunk's research institute to replace the robotic arm. But Marshal of the Warring States period, if we don't kill traitors like Vergo, can we still keep him? Warring States was naturally angry, but he did not lose his mind. I said, why do you think Ye Cang started the live broadcast? It's not to let us see what kind of person Vergo is. Besides, the general we unanimously recognized, do you really think he died in Vergo's sneak attack? The situation in Punk Hassad has become very dangerous. Smoker was beaten by Vergo until he vomited blood. Ain and Dusky on the other end were unable to break through Monet's blockade, and Caesar added obstacles from time to time. Seeing that they were about to be destroyed collectively, Smoker was seriously injured by Vergo and flew to the snow wall. With a move of white smoke full of armed colors, he penetrated Monet's snow wall through a path and grabbed Darth. Kai and Ain threw it out. Come on. However, Vergo, who was faster, blocked the entrance of the cave first, and Giju knocked the three of them back with a single stroke. Then he came to Smog, raised the ghost bamboo and was about to drop it. Smoker was unable to resist, but he didn't expect that he would die like this. Why did you betray the Navy? He couldn't figure out that someone like Vergo had no reason to betray him. Because he is not a Marine, but a pirate from beginning to end. Am I right? Doflamingo's Vergo the Heart. End of this chapter. Chapter 293 Gaara, You Can Act Now. Chapter 293 Gaara, You Can Act Now. The biggest secret was exposed, but Vergo had no idea and turned his head in disbelief. Ye Cang was holding the end of the ghost bamboo, otherwise Smog would have been filled with hatred by now. Then he looked at Ye Cang's corpse not far away. There was indeed a Ye Cang lying there. His heart was pierced, and the blood that flowed out had turned into a dark red viscous color due to the passage of time. So is there a ghost behind him? Easily grasped Giju and prevented him from suppressing it. The only person present with such strength was Ye Cang, who was at the general level. Could it be that I have seen a ghost? Are you a human or a ghost? Ghost bamboo swept across and was easily dodged by Ye Cang. You said that. He stretched out his right hand and snapped his fingers, and saw Ye Cang lying on the ground turned into a pirate under Caesar's hands. A small application of the substitution and transformation techniques. Vergo's Hacky just felt that he had actually stabbed someone to death, and he never thought that he could be replaced in that situation. The atmosphere on the field changed again. The certainty of victory for Vergo, Monet, and Caesar at the moment of Yakira's death now turns to fear. Smoker, who was originally close to death, took the opportunity to smoke and distance himself from Vergo. Ain and Dasky also hid behind Ye Cang. Even the generals of the Navy headquarters breathed a sigh of relief. Although General Ye Cang was retaliating against them, he was finally unambiguous when it was time to take action. Vergo finally reacted at this time and immediately said, I don't know what the red heart the general is talking about. Yes, I admit that I betrayed the Navy. That was because Doflamingo gave too much and I was just greedy. But I'm not a pirate, let alone Doflamingo's subordinate. I'm a good vice admiral, why should I submit to Doflamingo? I even took the initiative to find Doflamingo in the first place. Punk Hassard is a good place that is not eye-catching and happens to be in my jurisdiction. So I found Doflamingo and joined forces to make a fortune together. The reason for assassinating the general was just because you just cut off my financial path. Vergo decided to sacrifice himself. Ye Cang applauded. Sacrifice yourself to protect Doflamingo. Doflamingo is lucky to have a subordinate like you. You're overthinking it, that's just the way it is. As long as he bites him to death, the world government will definitely not trace the young master's special identity, and his ending will be nothing more than entering a big prison. How could Ye Cang let Vergo get his wish? Pick up the live phone bug. You guys have also seen it. I'm going to make a post-war report in advance. G5 base director Vergo colluded with Doflamingo to conduct human experiments and illegal military transactions. After I discovered it, he resisted and was killed by me. I guess you don't like to see the rest, so I'll turn it off. At the naval base, everyone watched Sengoku. General Ye Cang acted as expected. The secretary asked, "Sir Warring States, is this really what this report says?" The Warring States period was a little helpless, but Ye Cang's behavior really relieved his anger. If a few people were arrested, they would definitely not be executed. This was also the Navy's helplessness. Admiral Ye Cang said, "Don't you record it according to the truth? Remember, it is the truth. It doesn't matter what Vergo said." Ye Cang had no intention of letting Vergo live today. Smoker wanted to speak, but considering that he was being too gentle, he decided not to. Ain also covered the old-fashioned Dasky who was about to talk too much. Along the way, they also felt that Vergo was a good person and said a lot of nice things, which made General Ye Cang angry. He was almost killed just now. Since Teacher Zephyr was cut off by Weibel to protect them, they are no longer limited to the justice they once had. The evil that has been completely eliminated is the real justice. Vergo, Monet, and Caesar stretched out their hands and stopped in midair. Only then did Vergo realize that everything he had done had been broadcast live by Ye Cang, and that he had ridiculously wanted to kill people and silence them. Caesar shouted, "No, how can you use lynching as a general? Arrest us quickly." He might still survive being imprisoned in a big prison, but he didn't want to die in a life-and-death battle with Ye Cang. Immediately raise your hands and step forward to surrender. Ye Cang sent out a fireball, instantly igniting Caesar. Caesar was ignited, and he who was originally in a semi-gas state burned more and more intensely. Only then did Caesar realize that Ye Cang really wanted to kill him. "Since you won't let me live, everyone should stop living." His whole body was turned into gas, trying to cause a big explosion. In an instant, the entire space was surrounded by flames. The wind and snow condensed by Monet were instantly melted into snow water and then dried. However, the strange thing is that although the flames were huge, they did not cause any harm to others. Many Marines subconsciously used their hands to block it, only to find that the flames seemed fake and had no warmth. Caesar, who completely turned himself into gas, was completely wiped out as the gas burned completely. "Is this the strength of a general?" the Marine muttered. No one knew how Ye Cang did it. It was easy to make the flame strong, but how to make the flame so powerful without hurting anyone? Since he mastered the power of the pseudo-six paths, as time goes by he gets closer and closer to the real power of the six paths. After adding the power of six paths, Ye Cang's flames can only burn specific targets, while others will not be harmed. Otherwise, everyone would not survive the gas explosion. Seeing Ye Cang's terrifying methods, he decisively changed to Vergo this time. He threw the ghost bamboo with one hand, smashing a hole in the wall, and threw Monet out like a cannonball with the other hand. Monet instantly transformed into elements and flew out through the hole created by the ghost bamboo. Then he was fully armed and blocked in front of the cave entrance. Although he couldn't defeat Ye Cang, his strength was enough to protect Monet from leaving Punk Hassad. "None of you can escape." Ye Cang condensed a red burning escape Jade in his right hand and attacked Vergo. Vergo concentrated the armed color on his fist, but as soon as it came into contact with the burning escape Jade, a heart-piercing pain came from his fist. Then the whole person was burned into a fire by Zhuo Dunkyu Dayu, and then Zhuo Dunkyu Dayu chased him out through the hole made by the ghost bamboo without losing momentum, but the color changed from red to black halfway. Monet had just escaped from the condensed human form, but before he could be happy, he saw a black fireball chasing after him, and quickly transformed into a blizzard again. In the open, if you want to kill yourself, don't even think about it. Transform into a blizzard and you can be reborn as long as you escape. But after the black fireball hit a snowstorm transformed by Monet, it suddenly seemed to be died, and all the snow and wind quickly ignited black flames. No matter how much Monet splits, the black flame will dye it. In a scream of pain, Monet was completely burned by the Jade of Seeking Tao transformed by Amaterasu, and followed in the footsteps of Caesar. Ye Cang stepped forward and picked up a phone bug that Vergo dropped after burning. The phone bug takes the form of Doflamingo. Vergo, the 5 old stars have agreed to take action. How are you? Ye Cang said calmly. I'm sorry, you were a step too late. Vergo has already turned into a pile of ashes. The rest is naturally for the Navy to start cleaning up the battlefield. And Ye Cang came to a deserted place and took out a telephone bug. Gaara, I'm done here. You can start taking action. End of this chapter. Chapter 294 Dressrosa's Sudden Change. Chapter 294 Dressrosa's Sudden Change. Copy that. Ye Cang. Dressrosa, the base of the Revolutionary Army. As Gaara ended the call, everyone in the Revolutionary Army became energetic, knowing that the operation in Dressrosa was about to begin. Even now, everyone feels that it is not so real to actually carry out revolutionary actions in Dressrosa. You must know that this is the territory of Kibukaitan and Doflamingo. When Gaara proposed this action, it was almost rejected by the entire Revolutionary Army. Although the Revolutionary Army missed the sand crocodile incident in Alabasta, Dressrosa was relatively stable under Doflamingo's governments, and the people's desire for revolution was not strong. It is simply impossible to succeed under normal circumstances. But when Gaara told everyone the information Rasa told them, everyone was shocked. Because of the childlike fruit of sugar, the world's understanding of Dressrosa is lacking. After checking the information, I found out it was true. After checking the information, we found that 16 comrades of our Revolutionary Army disappeared after entering Dressrosa. And if it weren't for deliberate inquiries and documentation to prove it, almost no one would remember these comrades. They only exist in files. More than that, we checked according to the conditions given by Gaara's staff and found that Cyrus, the former number 1 in Dressrosa's arena, evaporated after Doflamingo came to power. Not only Cyrus, but also many people who had business dealings with us in Dressrosa have been forgotten. Also, before Doflamingo came to Dressrosa, there was no toyman in Dressrosa. With data to support it, Gaara's proposal was immediately taken seriously. A former celestial dragon dominates the world's alliance countries and fools the entire country's citizens. If the Revolutionary Army liberates Dressrosa, it will be a huge blow to the world government and the celestial dragons. For the Revolutionary Army, it can bring a lot of prestige. This is much more accomplished than exposing Crocodile's conspiracy in Alabasta. Gaara's proposal was unanimously approved, and then he sent people to Dressrosa. Now the Revolutionary Army says that Gaara and Karin are the lucky stars of the Revolutionary Army. You must know that since Gaara and Kosovo came to the Revolutionary Army, relying on Gaara's strong combat power, especially the ability to fight in groups, they have been invincible on the battlefield and helped the Revolutionary Army expand 1/6 of its territory. The fighting power is so strong that the leader Drago once fought Gaara once amidst the booing of the crowd. After returning, the dragon simply admitted that he had lost. You must know that Dragon was born in the Navy and was the son of Garp. He once suppressed Akenu, Aokiji, and Kizaru. If he had not left the Navy, the current Yuanshi might all belong to Dragon. It has always been the strongest fighting force of the Revolutionary Army, but now it has lost to Gaara. Gaara has since had the title of No. 1 in the Revolutionary Army. The important thing is that Gaara is still quite humble. After the dragon's defeat, Sabo originally wanted to hand over the position of staff officer to Gaara, but Gaara sternly refused. In the end, he refused and became a deputy staff officer. But in terms of contribution to the Revolutionary Army, Zhang Phosphorus is still greater. Once the seal scroll came out, the Revolutionary Army had storage space with them, and the previous problem of material transportation was completely solved. It truly made the Revolutionary Army invincible. A veritable minister of munitions. In particular, fragrant phosphorus can also use a special medical technique to snatch back many revolutionary soldiers who were originally declared dead from the hands of death, and there is also a saying that the goddess of the Revolutionary Army. This time in Dressrosa, all the elites of the Revolutionary Army appeared. Gaara led the team, and Karin had to follow. But he had no choice but to send Ivankov to protect Karin's safety, then Chief of Staff Sabo, Army Commanders Crow and Belopti, as well as Kurla and the people who are now affiliated with the revolution. Nico Robin, a Straw Hat member of the military, and a group of subordinates. The Chief of Staff was there, but Gaara, the Deputy Staff Officer, was in charge of overall planning. No one had any objections. Gaara had shown excellent leadership skills during this time. Everyone. As for Punk Hazard, the new Navy Admiral Ye Cang has eliminated Doflamingo's undercover agent Vergo in the Navy, as well as Monet and Caesar, who is responsible for scientific research. Doflamingo has now left Dressrosa. It's time for us to start taking action. The Revolutionary Army has many high-end combat forces. In fact, they can directly rebel, but the purpose of everyone is to cause trouble and liberate Dressrosa. And a leaderless Dressrosa is more in line with the Revolutionary Army's way of doing things. Once Dressrosa is liberated and Doflamingo comes back, it will be useless. Everyone admired Gaara even more for being able to attract the Navy Admiral to cooperate with him. Everyone did not know the relationship between Gaara and Ye Cang. They only thought that Gaara revealed the information to Ye Cang, which then caused internal strife between the Navy and the Shichibukai. Okay everyone, let's proceed as planned and go to our respective operators to respond. Yes, Xen. A few days after arriving in Dressrosa, the Revolutionary Army had already prepared its steps and headed to the places they had planned. Outside the arena, Sabo was ready to clear the level, especially after Gaara told him that deep in the arena, Diamandi the cube held Ace's former fruit, the burnt fruit. At a certain street corner in the city, King Liku, disguised in a mask, met Belopti, who stood in front of him. In the residence of Rebecca and Toy Cyrus, Kara stopped Rebecca, who was about to go to the arena, and shouted Cyrus's name to the toy soldiers. In the clothing store, Robin covered Violet's mouth while she was trying on clothes. Outside the Smile Factory, Crow and the Revolutionary Army soldiers are ready to attack at any time. Greenbit, Gaara set foot on the territory of Lilliput. Only Zhang Lion and Ivankov stayed at the station on standby, and Zhang Lion expressed his displeasure. Compared with the Revolutionary Armies waiting for opportunities, Doflamingo, who was sitting on Buffalo's back, was suppressing his anger and had no idea of the earth-shattering changes that were about to take place in his kingdom, Dressrosa. As early as when Monet informed Doflamingo that Ye Cang had landed on the island, Doflamingo ignored Torbal's objections and sat on the buffalo, with Baby 5 turning into a missile and accelerating behind, and rushed straight to Punk Hassan. Virtue. Contact Wuleoxing on the way. Vergo is his important chess piece and nothing should happen to him. Finally, the 5 old stars agreed to take action. But as a result, Vergo seemed to have encountered something unexpected. Doflamingo was even more anxious. After being hunted by cranes for so many years, Ye Cang was not afraid even though he was a general. If something happens to Vergo, he will make Ye Cang pay with blood. The recent unhappiness has put Doflamingo on the verge of going berserk. Kaido's transformation has turned the smile fruit into a waste. No one except Kaido is interested in this semi-finished fruit. It is equivalent to directly losing half of the profits of the black industry. But Kaido is not something Doflamingo can mess with. Now that something happened to Punk Hassan again, Ming-Ji exploded directly. As a celestial dragon, he also holds some secrets of Ravru, and he has the confidence to bargain with the government. So even if Ye Cang is very strong, he will definitely be used as a punching bag. Buffalo, Baby 5, hurry up. At this time, the phone bug rang, turning into a panicked look in Torbal's face. Dover, come back quickly. The Revolutionary Army is making trouble on the island, and something happened to Sugar. End of this chapter. Chapter 295 I, King Liku, ask you to save Dressrosa. Chapter 295 I, King Liku, ask you to save Dressrosa. Time goes back a little. Dressrosa, inside the Revolutionary Army stronghold. The little human King Gambai and his guards Leo, Micro, King Liku and Rebecca, as well as Cyrus and Violet who were transformed into toy soldiers, were brought separately. Seeing King Liku, the little human King Gambai immediately jumped on King Liku's shoulders and pulled King Liku's collar regretfully. King Riku, I'm sorry. I was wrong back then. I shouldn't have disbelieved you. Doflamingo is no different from his ancestors. Manchali and other tribesmen were captured by Doflamingo and used as coolies. But we can't do anything. King Riku should come back and help us overthrow Doflamingo. Gambai, it's been so many years since I last saw you. King Liku patted Gambai gently with his big hand. This was the first person to express his longing for him in 10 years. He felt a little blocked in his heart. In my current situation, even if I show my face, I will be spurned by others. How can I help you? Then he stood up and bent deeply towards Rebecca and Violet. Tears couldn't stop falling, leaving dark spots on the ground one after another. Rebecca and Violet, you have suffered a lot because of me these years. When facing the toy soldier Cyrus, he couldn't help but fall to his knees with a plop. Cyrus, I really deserve to die. How could I forget you? Cyrus immediately jumped on one leg in front of King Liku and struggled to lift King Liku up. King Riku, it was me who failed to protect Dressrosa. I failed to protect Scarlet, and I didn't even protect Rebecca. It was my lack of ability that made the country fall into this state. A pair of hands covered Cyrus's mouth from behind, and Rebecca held Cyrus tightly in her arms. Tears and snot flowed together, and her head rested on King Riku's chest. It turns out that my father has always been by my side. My father is Cyrus. I actually forgot about my father. Rebecca is so stupid. Violet also came over at this time, hugged Rebecca with one hand, and touched her father's old face with the other. He didn't say anything, and tears fell in big drops. It's great. You are all alive. I am not alone. I still have a family. Several people comforted each other, shed tears, and vented their emotions wantonly. They had suppressed them for too long and misunderstood each other for too long. Being invited back by the Revolutionary Army, some went smoothly and some were questioned. However, after arriving at the Revolutionary Army stronghold and reading the documents prepared by the Revolutionary Army for everyone, that is the precious memory that they have forgotten and least want to forget. Although the childlike fruit can erase memories, it cannot erase written records. The Revolutionary Army spent time and effort to collect and clearly record the causes and consequences. When they finished reading it, they couldn't help but collapse. Violet and King Riku settled their differences. Rebecca finally knew why Mr. Toy Soldier had been protecting her. And the toys that can be seen everywhere on the street are originally real people, and may even be someone's most cherished person, but they cannot be forgotten or manipulated. It's a complete fool of all the citizens of Dressrosa. After a long time, everyone finally calmed down, wiped away their tears, supported each other, and became each other's strongest strength. King Riku took a look at the Revolutionary Army, and was able to accurately find the disguised self, and knew the truth about the toy soldier being Cyrus and the childlike fruit. He also brought Rebecca, Violet, and the oppressed little humans with him. Come here. The king of the Revolutionary Army knows this. I used to be very disgusted because I felt that the Revolutionary Army was bringing war to various countries. But now that it has actually happened to me, I realize that maybe the real situation is not that simple. Everyone in the Revolutionary Army, first of all, thank you very much for letting us know that Cyrus was turned into a toy soldier, allowing us to regain our most precious memories. Rebecca nodded sincerely in thanks. King Riku caressed his granddaughter's hair and continued, but the purpose of inviting Gambai and our family here should be Dressrosa. Rukella, who had shallow eyes on the side of the Revolutionary Army, could not help but shed tears for King Liku's family. Others were also touched. Even though they had liberated countless countries that were oppressed by the world government, they still couldn't bear to see such things. Never stop empathizing. This is exactly the meaning of the existence of the Revolutionary Army. Gaara said, I know that King Riku has some misunderstandings about the ideas of our Revolutionary Army, and he must have changed his mind now. King Liku sighed, his eyes full of self-mockery. Yes, in the past I thought that your Revolutionary Army would only bring war, but now it seems that you may bring liberation. As a country that joins the world government, there is always a lot of gold in the sky. When Doflamingo came to Dressrosa, King Riku asked for help from the world government, but Doflamingo was originally a celestial dragon. The identity of the world government allows the world government to sit back and watch. You gave up Dressrosa 900 years ago. Now you want to come back because you gave up your identity as a Draco, but you are running the country like a toy. He even hid like a bereaved mouse for 10 years, and only managed to save his life by selling his daughter's body to Doflamingo as his lover. Now the emergence of the Revolutionary Army has given him a glimmer of hope. How do you want us to cooperate? The Revolutionary Army was very pleased with King Liku's transformation. You must know that the former King Riku was very repulsive to the Revolutionary Army. If Dressrosa is really liberated, King Riku's change will open up the situation for the Revolutionary Army's actions in the participating countries. Gaara remained very calm. King Riku, even if I don't tell you, you still know the current situation of King Riku's family in Dressrosa. We can provide you with 2 ways. The first way is to send you away from Dressrosa. Your family will go to another country to survive. King Elizabelo Roman II of the Kingdom of Provence has been looking for you these years and wants to rescue you. I believe that if you go to the Kingdom of Provence, he will be happy to take you in. King Riku shook his head and rejected it without even thinking. But in my mind, I unconsciously thought of the man with the king's fist, and I was still very touched. There were still people who were willing to believe in me. However, according to Doflamingo's character, if he knew that he was hiding in the Kingdom of Provence, he would definitely attack Elizabelo too, and then the 2 countries would be destroyed. That will only bring war to the Kingdom of Provence, and I can't do that. Besides, if I really leave, what will happen to Gumby and the little humans, and what will happen to the citizens of Dressrosa? And Scarlet's what about hatred? I can't give up the people of Dressrosa, nor can I give up my revenge on Doflamingo. So King Riku knelt down again, and this time Cyrus, Rebecca, and Violet followed suit. Although your purpose may be originally for Dressrosa, I, the King of Dressrosa, Riku told Roman III, sincerely request your Revolutionary Army to help us liberate Dressrosa. End of this chapter. Chapter 296 Crow's Mission. Chapter 296 Crow's Mission. King Riku and others naturally knew that the Revolutionary Army had gone through so much trouble to save them, and it was certainly not to send them out of Dressrosa. But they can feel that Gaara did not deceive them. Even if they really choose to leave Dressrosa, the Revolutionary Army will do what they say, but for the citizens of Dressrosa and for the dead Scarlet, it is impossible for them to choose this path. They need the help of the Revolutionary Army to liberate Dressrosa. Otherwise, they and the small humans alone would not be able to fight against the Doflamingo family. And the only people in this world who can fight against Doflamingo and don't care about the attitude of the world government are the Revolutionary Army and pirates. Everyone in the Revolutionary Army immediately stepped forward to help King Liku and others. It was not their purpose to repay a favor, and besides, they were also moved by King Liku's actions. King Riku chose to stay in Dressrosa partly for revenge, but mostly for the sake of the people. It was exactly this kind of king that the Revolutionary Army needed. King Riku, since you sincerely requested, we will not hide it. We are indeed here to liberate Dressrosa, and we also agree that you are a good king, and our revolutionary army will definitely help you. But at present the biggest problem is that King Riku was ostracized by all the citizens because of the incident when he was controlled by Doflamingo, and the citizens who supported you have been turned into toys. A hasty uprising will probably have the opposite effect. King Riku's heart ached when he heard this. He felt as if he had returned to that night 10 years ago. He was coerced by Doflamingo to hand over 100 billion to protect the country. He asked the people to finally collect enough money, but in the end, Doflamingo was manipulation leads to murder. Cyrus and Violet also unconsciously thought of that helpless night. Cyrus subconsciously touched his broken leg, while Violet hugged her shoulders. At this moment Cyrus was no longer the undefeated myth of the arena. Violet is no longer the cold-blooded killer of the Don Quixote family. They were both unable to protect themselves, so Rebecca wrapped her arms around the two of them. Gaara saw the reactions of several people and explained, "You don't have to despair, this matter is not unsolvable. First, as long as the sugar is solved, the people who turned into toys will be liberated. There are so many flamencos in the world. The rule of Dressrosa may be directly disintegrated as a result, and among those who have been turned into toys, there are not many who support you, King Riku. And if we can expose the truth of what happened at this time, then the people of Dressrosa will find out who is their true king." King Liku's temples looked a bit older. But it is so difficult to expose the truth of that year. Unless Doflamingo takes the initiative to speak out, it is simply impossible. Gaara said, "Then let Doflamingo's people speak out for themselves." King Riku and others looked at Gaara in confusion how to do this. Gaara didn't show off, and directly said to everyone, "Doflamingo is not here now, and Dressrosa, under the management of the Don Quixote family for many years, has already felt that a piece of metal can't stir up anything. Wind and waves." Thanks to Doflamingo's status as a Shichibukai, ordinary pirates don't dare to make mistakes when they come to Dressrosa. In fact, Dressrosa's defense seems to be tight, but in fact it is tight on the outside and loose on the inside. Of course, with Doflamingo's reputation, no one dares to cause trouble, but we don't care. The guards around Sugar are not tight, as long as they can make Sugar faint, and Dressrosa will be in chaos. Then, Violet, you take King Riku, Cyrus, and Rebecca to the royal city, as if you want to expose Doflamingo. At that time, Torbal will definitely stop him, and you will pretend that you are not his opponent. But if it is you, Torbal will definitely relax his vigilance, thinking that he has solved this crisis, and laugh at your incompetence. He would use his power to the best of his ability, and even kill him out of anger. He took out a phone bug from his pocket. This is a video phone bug. As long as you guide him, Torbal will definitely tell what happened that year, and then broadcast it to the whole of Dressrosa through the phone bug. King Riku's grievances will naturally be cleared. The interlocking designs. Everyone unconsciously walked through Gaara's design in their minds. According to the arrogance of the Don Quixote family, there are also the identities of the original Qianlong and the King Shichibukai, and the strength of Doflamingo and the four emperors is only a hair apart. In addition to the revolutionary army, there will indeed be no one else to provoke them. However, this also caused concern to King Riku and others. Cyrus was not weak back then, and had a high level of armed domineering, but he still had no power to fight back against Doflamingo. Although the revolutionary army has a great reputation, most of them are active in various non-franchised countries. The enemies they face are not strong, and they do not have any strong results that they can achieve. Although Doflamingo is not here now, all the cotters of the Don Quixote family are here, and the combat effectiveness of Spade Pika, Diamond Diamandi, and Club Torbal is not low. These people are not weak even among the Yonko pirates, not to mention that there are many other combat cotters who are not weaker than the hundreds of millions of pirates. King Riku said, "Although it's a bit rude, the combat effectiveness of the Don Quixote family is actually not much different from the Yonko's pirate group. Are our revolutionary army really sure? It's really underestimated. Gaara wasn't angry either. It was right to be cautious about this kind of lavish investment with the country as a bet. King Riku, I can't guarantee you anything, but you don't have any other foreign aid, right? I can only tell you that with our current lineup, even the Yonko pirates may not be our opponents. If you believe it, then act. If you don't believe it, our previous commitments will still count. Sabo said, King Riku, although you may think I'm bragging, the real situation is that if you don't want to liberate Dressrosa, but just destroy it, Gaara alone will be enough. Doflamingo, there is no difference at all between being there and not being there. Belobdi said, decide, King Riku, be brave enough to believe in us, leave, or watch Doflamingo do nothing forever. Belobdi did not use the encouragement fruit, but her words still penetrated King Riku's heart. King Riku said apologetically, sorry, actually I had no choice. If it weren't for you, Dressrosa might not be liberated at all. Robin, who had been silent, felt something strange. For some reason, she always felt that it was them who should have saved Dressrosa. Then he shook his head, and now there is still 1 year left before the agreed 2 years. Everyone is working hard to improve themselves, and I have to work hard too. Because of Luffy's relationship, he was well taken care of in the Revolutionary Army, and under the guidance of Gaara and Karin, Robin's combat effectiveness improved by leaps and bounds. 1 year from now, I will definitely be able to bring greater help to my companions. King Riku made up his mind, and the next step was naturally to take action against Sugar. Either kill her or make her lose her fighting ability. With her appearance as a young girl, she was not allowed to kill her. So if I get dizzy, who will go? Then everyone unanimously fixed their gaze on the crow with a cold beak and a cold face. End of this chapter. Chapter 297 Revolutionary Army, You Are So Brave. Chapter 297 Revolutionary Army, You Are So Brave. After the strategy discussion was completed, everyone immediately split up. Crow was going to scare Sugar out, Gaara was secretly protecting King Riku, and Sabo was going to pick through the arena. On the streets of Dressrosa, Sugar holds a basket full of grapes in one hand, inserts the other hand into the basket of grapes, and feeds herself one by one. Looks innocent, but it is the key to Doflamingo's rule of Dressrosa. He turned more than half of the residents of Dressrosa who disobeyed Doflamingo into toys, and turned into future big pirates, revolutionary troops, and world government officials into toys. Toy people have become the beautiful scenery of Dressrosa. Sugar's toy will recover once it loses consciousness, so Sugar's importance to Doflamingo in controlling Dressrosa is self-evident. In the beginning, Sugar was naturally guarded, but with the stability of Doflamingo's rule and the growing strength of Don Quixote's family, coupled with the years of peace and harmony, there were only a few people who knew the secret of the childlike fruit. So the protection of Sugar has been reduced a lot in recent years. After all, Sugar is a partner and needs freedom. Although Sugar's strength is not weak, he is restricted by his body and the childlike fruit, so he cannot be frightened. The men had already cleared the streets in advance of items that might frighten Sugar. Dressrosa never thought about who would take the initiative to provoke Doflamingo. When Granu came to a candy stall and took away the oversized lollipop from the stall, a strange crow sounded around him, quack. Everyone looked up and saw dozens of crows circling, but there were no crows in Dressrosa. Several bodyguards immediately realized that they were coming for Sugar. But before he could react, all the crows gathered into one giant crow and grabbed the Sugar. What? Sugar screamed, and his men immediately attacked the crow, took out their pistols and beat the crow into a sieve. But the crow didn't seem to be a living creature. The holes it was punched were all behind, and there was black dust floating inside, which made it even more terrifying. The terrifying scene was enough to scare him out. After reacting, Sugar immediately covered his eyes and thought of beautiful things in his mind. At this time, instead of killing the crow, the bodyguards were swept away by the crow's claws, and then the crow turned into a human form and came to Sugar. Sugar still didn't dare to open her eyes. Since she dared to target herself, it must have been calculated. However, he still put his hands behind his back and calculated the distance of the coming person. As long as he turned him into a toy by surprise, there was still a chance of reversal. Listening to the footsteps and calculating the right moment, Sugar launched an attack. But the next moment someone clamped his shoulders and lifted Sugar up. "You're such a narrow-minded brat. If you didn't understand your abilities, you would really fall for it." Sugar thought it was over now, knowing that her ability must be to plot against the young master. She must not be scared. Give yourself courage and prepare yourself mentally in advance. "No matter how scary it is, I will not be scared." Squinting his eyes, he saw a pale man with a bird's beak and a pair of dead fish eyes staring at him fiercely. Even though he told himself not to be afraid, Granu was still frightened by the image of a strange man with a crow and a beak. He foamed at the mouth uncontrollably and fainted. Crow felt disrespected. Before he could think of how to scare Granu, Granu fainted. "Do I look so scary?" As Sugar fainted, a shocking change occurred in Dressrosa. People who were chatting and laughing on the street suddenly had many precious memories that had been lost. The toy people who helped people on the street suddenly turned into humans and animals. Every recovered toyman cursed Doflamingo. "You must know that Sugar has turned more than half of the citizens of Dressrosa into toys over the years. Toy people can be said to be all over the country. Now that their abilities have been unlocked, it is easy to say that they are in turmoil. In particular, many memories related to them were revived one after another, and Doflamingo's true face was exposed to everyone. "I'm sorry, husband, I really forgot about you, so I married someone else." Doflamingo, "He actually captured me." Doflamingo, "Returned the throne to King Riku." Tyrant riots broke out across Dressrosa. Torbal in the palace was dumbfounded and immediately realized that something had happened to Sugar. "Damn it, I personally protect Sugar every day. Today, because of Punk Hassad's incident, I came to persuade Dover, but I didn't expect someone to take advantage of him. This matter is definitely arranged. But Sugar's ability is a secret even within the family. How did the enemy know about it? Contact Diamante and Pika immediately via the phone bug. Diamante and Pika, immediately send your people out to suppress the rebellion." He hung up the phone and was still angry. There had been such a big problem. Dover must have been furious when he came back. He was about to go out and suppress it together when he suddenly found 4 sneaky figures trying to go to the podium. Torbal immediately chased after him and found King Riku, Cyrus, Violet, and Rebecca. Mucus flew everywhere and became furious. "It turns out you are the one who did it. Violet, it was you who used your ability to find out about the sugar. Very good. How dare you do what you did today? Do you know that Dover is not here? But even if Dover is not here, do you think that with the 4 of you, what can one person accomplish? Or do you think those residents of Dressrosa who have recovered as adults can help you? King Riku, didn't you understand back then? The resistance of the weak is in vain in the face of absolute power." Before anyone could guide him, Torbal revealed the truth about that year. Rebecca secretly turned on the phone bug and started recording. Cyrus, who had returned to his human form, raised his sword and attacked Torbal. Facing the former #1 warrior of Dressrosa, Torbal did not dare to be careless. After all, Cyrus in his prime was no weaker than Diamante. But Cyrus, who is now lame on one leg, using slime to make the ground slippery, Cyrus, who was able to avoid it, pretended to slip. Torbal shook his nose and said proudly, "I thought that having Cyrus would be enough. What else can he do with only one leg left?" King Liku said, "I didn't care about your betrayal back then, but why didn't you manage the country well? Run the country well? Are you kidding? We are pirates. After all, what can you do even if you come back? Back then, you were controlled by Dover and misunderstood by all the citizens. Who do you think will stand by you? Via right, it's a pity that I let King Riku go for your sake. For what you did today, Dover will definitely kill you when he comes back. It's so stupid that he has already let you join the family. I am the daughter of King Riku and the Princess of Dressrosa. I have never been a member of the Don Quixote family. We will definitely liberate Dressrosa today. Very good, there's no need to wait for Dover to come back. I'll just help you die now. It emits a huge amount of mucus, and then prepares to set it on fire, killing King Riku and his party. The torch was directly cut off by the rising Cyrus, and then the ground instantly turned to sand, absorbing all the slime released by Toribal. Gaara stepped on the sand and appeared. Gaara, Deputy Chief of Staff of the Revolutionary Army, you are so brave. End of this chapter. Chapter 298, Doflamingo's Birdcage. Chapter 298, Doflamingo's Birdcage. As a supernova of the Revolutionary Army who suddenly emerged, and as a middleman of underground forces, how could Toribal not know Gaara? As the clown and the largest weapons supplier in the underground world, Doflamingo also has many transactions with the Revolutionary Army. Neither party is next to the other, so there is absolutely no reason for conflict. I originally thought it was the plot of King Liku's family, but what I didn't expect was that the Revolutionary Army was behind it. Revolutionary Army, what are the benefits of doing this? Dressrosa still has weapons orders from the Revolutionary Army. Although they are not many, we are the only ones who dare to do business with you. Naturally, Toribal didn't know that the country of Wano has now become the largest weapons supplier to the Revolutionary Army. The benefits are the benefits of liberating this country that you have ruined. Gaara raised his hand and the sand swept towards Toribal. At the same time, he said to King Riku, "Go and relay what Toribal just said to the people of Dressrosa. Now is the best opportunity." Sugar fainted, all the toy people were restored, and the lost memories returned to the minds of everyone in Dressrosa. Now the opposition to Doflamingo has reached its highest point. There are voices everywhere to overthrow Doflamingo and to resist Doflamingo. The flames of war have burned the entire kingdom of Dressrosa. At this time, King Riku was spreading Toribal's words to let the people know the truth of the year, and Dressrosa would definitely be liberated. Toribal's emotions were like surging waves, but what stood in front of him was an extremely solid mountain. No matter how much his furious waves beat, it could not cause any harm to Gaara. He tried his best to block Gaara's sand with slime. He knew in his heart that today would be a very unlucky day, so why didn't Pika and Diamante take action yet? However, in the arena, Sabo had penetrated the arena with the Dragon King Fist, and the Cotters belonging to Diamante were defeated one by Sabo, Kurla, and the Revolutionary Army. Diamante was left to fight Sabo alone. Hand over the burning fruit. Diamante threw up countless iron balls of thorns. Then let's see if you guys are capable of this. Death Star chips. Outside the Simul factory, after Crow finished processing the sugar, he personally commanded the Revolutionary Army to attack the Smile factory. However, Doflamingo's Cotters such as Rao-ji, Peak and others were no match for Crow. Bello Betty walks down the street, activating the inspiration fruit to help the people of Dressrosa and fight against Doflamingo's army. The entire Dressrosa's resistance to Doflamingo was suppressed, and Doflamingo's Cotters were defeated one after another. The same was true for Toribal here. After resisting no 2 moves, he was entangled in Gaara's sand. Just when Toribal was desperate, a big rock hand reached in from the outside and grabbed Toribal out, and then raised another big rock hand, intending to smash the entire palace into pieces. But before the big hand of the rock could fall, it was quickly sanded away. At this time, King Riku finally arrived at the podium, watching Pika's huge rock hand being turned into sand by Gaara, and the counterattack horns being raised everywhere. This time, I can win. Then the phone bug that had just recorded Toribal's words and deeds was connected to the whole country of Dressrosa and broadcast the situation just now. King Liku, what else do you think you can do than run the country well? Are you kidding? We are pirates listening to Toribal's words. Everyone realized that they had missed King Riku back then, and Doflamingo was responsible for everything. Not only King Riku, he also turned the citizens of Dressrosa into toys. How can such a person be the king of Dressrosa? Overthrow Doflamingo! Overthrow Doflamingo! I don't know who was the first to shout the slogan, but it gradually spread throughout the country. It was under such circumstances that Toribal contacted Doflamingo. Dover, come back quickly. The Revolutionary Army has joined forces with King Ku to rebel. Something happened to Sugar. Pika, let's go quickly. When Dover comes back, your abilities are too restrained and you are no match for Gaara. If the giant rock hand just fell, King Riku and others and Gaara would definitely be in danger, but they would be transformed into sand by Gaara in an instant. The ability of the stone fruit is simply restrained to death. Of course Pika also knew, but the current situation in Dressrosa, as the number one fighting force of the Doflamingo family, he must stabilize the situation and wait for Dove to come back. Otherwise, even if Dove comes back, there will be no way to save the day. Revolutionary Army Staff Officer Gaara, do you dare to have a fight with me? Gaara was stunned for a moment. One of his eyes turned into money, and then he said helplessly, "Okay, I'll let you make trouble." White smoke flashed, and Gaara transformed into a giant Shukaku. I will satisfy you and have a fight with you. After arriving on the pirate planet, Shukaku was always abusing food and was not satisfied for a long time. Gaara could enter the Six Paths mode alone, and he didn't want to be pulled down too much. Shukaku fired the tailed beast Jade and directly smashed Pika into pieces. I had long heard that Gaara, the deputy chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, would become a different person once he activated the power of the human fruit phantom beast seed and transformed into Shukaku form. Now it seems so. Unlike Gaara's delicate operations, Shukaku's fighting style is straightforward and rough. He does not have the ability to break down Pika into sand, but his attacks are more violent. Pika on the other side reorganized again, and his huge body punched Shukaku again. Shukaku switched to the wind this time, and the wind blade once again cut Pika into several pieces. Then the sand sunk deep, and a huge cube sealed both Pika and Toribal inside. Shukaku shook his head with some regret, and he only used 3 points of his strength. Fighting against such a powerful warrior was no different from a torture. As Shukaku successfully sealed Toribal and Pika, Diamandi fell at Sabo's feet in the arena, and then found the burning fruit of his former brother Ace in the depths of the arena. Sabo swallowed it without hesitation, and the unpleasant taste entered his throat. Sabo's body turns into flames. The Smile Factory was also breached by crows, and Leo led a team to rescue the imprisoned mini-human Princess Manxley and other captured mini-humans. Other Doflamingo family officials on the street were also defeated one after another. The disintegration of Doflamingo's family is a foregone conclusion. At this time, a figure was speeding in the sky. It was Doflamingo, who had given up on Buffalo and Baby 5, and ran with all his strength back to Dressrosa. After seeing and hearing, he sensed the situation in Dressrosa, as well as the war at Smile Factory and the arena. The whole person was like an exploding volcano. When he came to the palace and saw Shukaku's huge body, he completely exploded and used the super whip to split Shukaku in two. Then he stood on the roof of the palace, looking down at King Riku, covering his forehead with a suppressed smile. Okay, you're fine. In that case, Birdcage. It split off a second clone and sent out countless hard and sharp threads to cover the entire Dressrosa, quickly tightening them. Give me death. End of this chapter. Chapter 299. Recognizing Doflamingo who seeks the Taoist Jade. Chapter 299. Recognizing Doflamingo who seeks the Taoist Jade. Birdcage. Doflamingo's strongest move is also the most rogue move. The second silhouette rides on a line and transforms into a volcano, erupting countless threads. The threads are sharp and tough. Even Fujitori's meteorite can be cut. Zoro's armed color it cannot be cut off either. The moment the birdcage appeared, King Riku's deepest fear was awakened. Victory was already in sight. Why did Doflamingo rush back at the last moment? Is the birdcage that covers the entire Dressrosa going to kill the entire country? Doflamingo, stop it. If this continues, the entire country will be destroyed. During this time, the birdcage had shrunk several meters and countless houses were cut off by the birdcage. The Revolutionary Army in Dressrosa immediately tried to use armed weapons to destroy it. But not even Sabo's dragon grip, Crow's coal fruit attack, or even the attack from the Demon King Ivankov could stop the birdcage from tightening. If they were enemies, the strength of Doflamingo and a few others would be about the same, but birdcage was different. As a clone, the Shadow Rider line is simply made of wires and the inside is like a gear. For the power to increase dozens of times, even if the Revolutionary Army joins forces, it cannot prevent the birdcage from tightening. Upon seeing this, the crow immediately condensed the strongest coal within its capabilities, which was comparable to the hardness of diamond. Although it could not prevent the birdcage from tightening, it prevented the birdcage's silk threads from cutting ordinary people. As for the rest, Crow glanced at the palace. With Gaara here, I believe it will be done soon. At this time, Shikaku's upper body that was cut off by Doflamingo turned into sand and then grew back, breathing heavily in anger. Shikaku had already noticed Doflamingo's attack, but Doflamingo's speed was so fast that he had no time to react. Although Sanako's body could not die, it was very embarrassing. Damn it, Doflamingo, I won't let you go. Pressing his hands on the ground, countless sand flew up and surrounded Doflamingo. In a rage, Doflamingo originally wanted to kill King Riku and his family first, but feeling Shikaku's attack, he could only look at King Riku regretfully. King Riku, what I want to do is destroy this country. Just wait, I'll deal with Gaara and I'll be with you in a moment. The moment sugar fell and the truth about Dressrosa was known to the world, Doflamingo knew that not even the 5 old stars could save him. In this case, then destroy the entire Dressrosa and build a new Dressrosa. Doflamingo dodged to avoid the sand that attacked him, and directly entered the fruit awakening mode, and the surrounding objects began to turn into lines. Shield white line. The thread formed a shield, blocking Shikaku's pursuing Sanako. He glanced at Shikaku with contempt. The phantom beast species of Renren fruit is nothing more than this, a white line of wild waves. The earth turned into waves of white lines, and the sand that was originally manipulated by Shikaku also turned into threads, and then countless threads wrapped Shikaku's huge body. The thread then tightened in an attempt to strangle Shikaku. The huge white line tightened tighter and tighter, gradually becoming the size of a human. Doflamingo was even more proud. This was because he couldn't maintain his transformation back into human form. As we all know, the most powerful animal fruit is still in the beast form, and in the human form is the weakest. But immediately Doflamingo stopped laughing because the thread couldn't be retracted. "Hi la la," came the voice. Doflamingo could feel his thread being cut continuously, but how could it be possible? Within the white line, Gaara transformed back into his human form, with one eye becoming a human eye and the other eye being Shikaku's money eye. "Okay, don't be angry, I'll just restore your face." Shikaku was still not angry. "It's not that I can't beat him, it's just that I don't know how long it will take to fight him, and I'm afraid of delaying you guys." Gaara doesn't deny this. Even now, Shikaku's tailed beast Jade can also cut through Doflamingo's threads, but Doflamingo is too fast and Shikaku cannot catch it. If there was a true duel, at least half of Dressrosa would be destroyed. Gaara naturally took action decisively. The placer gold turns into a sharp blade and winds chakra and cuts the extremely strong silk thread. Doflamingo couldn't believe it. In the perception of seeing and hearing, Gaara was actually stronger again. He was clearly not in human beast form, so how could he be stronger than the beast form? What answered him was a sharp blade made of placer gold. Among the people in the ninja world, only Gaara can use all kinds of ninjutsu without restraint. As a phantom beast, he can accept a variety of abilities. When the sand gold blade struck, Doflamingo turned his head away, and the cold light brought by the sand gold still made his face hurt. This level of sharpness is actually higher than that of his own line fruit. What Gaara fired seemed to be a placer gold blade, but it was actually a transformation of the placer gold-seeking Jade. If it was just one, there would be no need to enter the Six Paths mode. The power is naturally far beyond what the Xianxian fruit can compare to. Doflamingo instantly realized something. It was sharper than his thread fruit. It wasn't that the placer blade was not aimed at him, but that the target was not him in the first place. He immediately turned around and wanted to chase after him, but at this time, the placer gold blade transformed from the placer gold-seeking Jade had already arrived at the place where the Shadow Rider was. It rotated directly and cut off all the roots of the Birdcage, and then cut the Shadow Rider clone in two without stopping. Half. The sky, which was originally densely covered with birdcages, suddenly cleared up. Everyone was in a trance and couldn't believe it. It would be hard to overstate the sharpness of the silk threads of the birdcage just now, but it was untied before even 2 seconds of despair, and surprisingly for the Revolutionary Army, Crow put away the coal. I didn't expect it to be so fast. If I had known, it wouldn't have been so laborious. Doflamingo raised his head blankly. You cut off the birdcage? It's as incredible as the sun coming out of the west. You must know that his birdcage cannot be destroyed even by the general's attack. It should be said that there should be no power in this world that can destroy the birdcage. King Riku just wanted to kowtow to Gaara. Every time such a birdcage was tightened by 1 meter, it would cause immeasurable damage to the country. Fortunately, it was destroyed. Gaara withdrew the placer gold blade, turned it into a placer gold-seeking Jade, surrounded Gaara, and walked towards Doflamingo. Brother Doflamingo looked at Gaara and the placer gold-seeking Jade. His sunglasses couldn't hide the flash of light, and suddenly burst out laughing. I understand your power, giant white line. Countless houses and land turned into huge white lines, the tip of which pierced Gaara. However, the placer gold-seeking Jade shattered instantly when it hit Gaara. However, Doflamingo's attack was not over. 16 holy murder bullets, God punishment. 16 strands of white thread that were not inferior to the strength of the birdcage were wrapped with armed haki and overlord haki. Doflamingo used his strongest move without reservation. Black lightning burst out, and 16 lines rushed towards Gaara. One seeking Jade Sage cannot be stopped. Gaara instantly entered Shukaku Sage mode. 9 seeking Jade Sage smashed the god into pieces and then attacked Doflamingo. Doflamingo, however, did not dodge or dodge, and directly caught the Kyudo's attack with his body. The body then begins to carbonize and break into powder. But there was excitement on his face. This power is indeed the Taoist Jade. You are finally here. Go ahead and drag him down to hell, blah 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 blah. End of this chapter. Chapter 300. From now on, Fishman Island will be my territory. Chapter 300. From now on, Fishman Island will be my territory. Why did Doflamingo recognize the Taoist Jade? Gaara quickly wanted to save Doflamingo, but Doflamingo wanted to die and accelerated his body's powdering. When Gaara came closer, only the head was left. I know what you want to ask. Go to Mary Joa, go among the flowers. There will be the answer you want to know. Doflamingo seemed to be relieved, and his whole body was completely pulverized, with only his sunglasses falling to the ground. Marie Jo among the flowers, Gaara murmured. He didn't know why Doflamingo knew Kyudo. Even in the ninja world, there were not many people who knew Kyudo, let alone in the completely unfamiliar world of pirates, when sparring with dragons. Gaara had used the Kyudo Jade before, but you didn't recognize it and said it was a very novel ability. But with Doflamingo's death, all this will have no answer. If you want to know, you can only go to the residence of the celestial dragons among the flowers of Marie Joa. It seems that I have to report it to my father. In any case, with Doflamingo's death, everything in Dressrosa came to an end. King Riku, Cyrus, and Violet looked at Doflamingo, who turned into pieces and flew away in the wind, unable to recover for a while. Doflamingo is dead! Their nightmare is over. Dressrosa is truly liberated. Just yesterday they were living in Doflamingo's shadow, but now they have liberated Dressrosa with the help of the Revolutionary Army. King Riku couldn't help but kneel down to Gaara with tears streaming down his face again. Thank you. I really didn't expect that I would one day regain my innocence, and that Dressrosa would one day be liberated. At this time, other members of the Revolutionary Army and the small humans also came to the kingdom. The moment they saw the Birdcage disappear, they rushed over, followed by the people of Dressrosa. Knowing that King Liku was in the palace, they all rushed over. Because they knew the truth of that year, the citizens expressed their apologies to King Riku and unanimously asked King Riku to become the king of Dressrosa again. The reconstruction of Dressrosa does not require the intervention of the Revolutionary Army. As the truth about Dressrosa was revealed, what Doflamingo had done became known to the whole world, causing a huge shock in the participating countries around the world. A powerful country with the greatest strength among all the participating countries in the world was plagued by pirates, but the world government sat back and watched, and only recovered with the help of the Revolutionary Army. Of course, King Liku denied this, but vaguely said that it was with the help of righteous people. However, Morgans did not give face to the world government. The battle between Gaara, Sabo, and Crow was reported on a whole page, which caused the world government to be furious. There was no way to blame King Riku. King Riku cooperated very well to save face for the world government. After Morgan's report, the reputation of the Revolutionary Army soared around the world, especially Gaara, who was worshipped by many people. After liberating Dressrosa, achieving their goal, and offending the world government, the members of the Revolutionary Army naturally stopped staying and chose to leave Dressrosa. But another dispute broke out about where to go. Sob, you are making your own decision, and I don't agree with it. Ivankov was the first to veto. His head became huge, and he loudly vetoed Sabo, who was kneeling on the ground. Sabo lowered his head to the ground. I know this is my willfulness, but I really hope everyone can help me. Coming to Dressrosa is already a risk, and now you ask her to go to Marioya to save the bear. I really want to agree. Ivankov burst into tears, remembering that the war above had completely ended. He doesn't know his own Big Bear. As a child of a lifelong friendship with Bear, he wants to save Big Bear more than Sabo. But Vegapunk has clearly told Long that Big Bear has been completely transformed and cannot be restored. Sabo had no choice but to request it after seeing the treatment method of fragrant phosphorus. Ivankov, you are too careful. We all know your friendship with the bear. So go ahead. If something happens, we will bear the responsibility. Pro spoke. What happened to Dakshin was reported back to the Revolutionary Army through spies. As the founder of the Revolutionary Army, someone offered to rescue him several times. How could they sit back and watch Dakshin be insulted like this? Belobdi even secretly used the encouragement fruit. Yes, Ivankov, we have to save the bear. He is our partner, isn't he? Besides, Lindmog and Mori have already gone there first. We can't leave them there. Betty, don't encourage me. I really wanted to go, and now I want to go even more. But the dragon asked me to protect Zhang Phosphorus. I can't even stand the fragrant phosphorus anymore. Okay, Ivankov, you can't even beat me, okay? Who protects whom? We have to save our companions, right? What are you waiting for? Let's go quickly. This time in Dressrosa, Ivankov did not let Zhang Phosphorus move throughout the whole process. He was afraid that Morgans would take a photo, which made Zhang Phosphorus stifled. This time I finally came out, but I ended up feeling lonely. Moreover, it was already agreed upon by several people to take the opportunity to save the bear. Go, bear, I can at least take everyone away. Gaara also spoke. Doflamingo knew that the celestial dragons might hold the secrets of the ninja world. which made it even more necessary to go to Marigioa. It is estimated that her father will be back by then, and Marigioa will not be afraid even if there is someone really strong. Well, everyone, can I go to Wangguo? The person who raised his hand was Robin. He found the invitation letter to Big Mom's birthday party in Dressrosa. Robin was almost shocked and his jaw dropped. Sanji is getting married? As a companion, Robin had to confirm. Wangguo, it's because of your companion. The Revolutionary Army also knew about Big Mom's birthday and Germa's marriage. Robin was a member of the Straw Hat Pirates, so it was appropriate for Sanji to confirm his marriage. The Revolutionary Army is also very concerned about Dragon Sun's pirate group. We are going to Marigioa, and we need to ensure our combat effectiveness. Care, please accompany Robin. If he wants to make a big fuss about Marigioa, he must ensure captain-level combat effectiveness, and there is no way to go to Cake Island with Robin. It's okay. I can go alone. Besides, I'm just confirming that nothing will happen. Robin was a little embarrassed. It's okay, Sister Robin, I just don't want to go back either. Perla took Robin's arm. Xiang Ling thought for a while, then took out a scroll from his arms and handed it to Robin. Robin, since you go to Cake Island and take this scroll, just use the person who appears in front of you to ensure your life safety. Xiang Lion handed Robin the scroll that could summon Shiro. After a period of contact, she and Robin have become good friends. Anyway, they are going to Wangguo, and Kimamaro and Shiro should also be there by then. With them, Robin and Kella's safety will be guaranteed. Then thank you all. At this time, Kimamaro and Shiro, who were worried about each other, walked up to Pakmos and Baron Eggman, who landed on Fishman Island. Hey, you two are the people from the Big Mom Pirates who are here to get the snacks. Call Big Mom and tell her that this year's snacks are gone. From now on, Fishman Island will be my territory. End of this chapter. Chapter 301. If you want snacks, buy them with money. Chapter 301. If you want snacks, buy them with money. Pakmos and Baron Eggman looked at Kimamaro and Shiro, who had the audacity to stop them, and they actually recognized them. It turns out that you are Kimamaro and Shiro from the Sunagakure Pirates, which have been in the spotlight recently. I heard that the government recently recruited you to join the Shichibukai, so are you starting to ignore the Yonko? Baron Eggman didn't care about Kimamaro's threat. This is the stage that every pirate who comes to the New World with a bounty of over $1 million will go through. The first is to look down on the Shichibukai, the second is to look down on the Yonko, and of course the final outcome is to be severely taught. However, the vast majority of pirates will be educated by the Shichibukai to recognize reality in the first stage, and only the pirates who stand out among them will be educated by the Yonko. Just like Kid in the past, he offended Big Mom and Red Hair successively. Although he managed to escape the first 2 times, he was finally solved by Kaido. His body was hung on the Ghost Island, probably already turned into bones. It's no problem for the strongest in the world of pirates to rise to the top. But the 4 emperors of the New World have been so stable for decades across the sea, and they were all fought hard. If Whitebeard hadn't sought his own death, the 4 emperors would still be as stable as Mount Tai. Pakmos pushed Kimamaro away and said, "Okay kid, we don't have time to coax you to play, and we delayed Mom's birthday party. Can't you be responsible?" Although Kimamaro has been in the limelight recently and was invited to become the king of the Shichibukai. The bounty has reached an exaggerated 6 million berry, but after the bounty exceeds million, especially after million, the gap in strength is actually not obvious. The level of the bounty is more related to the degree of harm to the world government. The reason why Kimamaro has a bounty of 6 million is mainly because he hijacked the heavenly gold of the Celestial Dragons in his first attack, and the Celestial Dragons issued a high reward in anger. Being able to evade the pursuit of the Celestial Dragons naturally requires some skills. However, it is still not a big deal for Pakmos and Baron Eggman under the Yonko Pirates. It's not like there are no Shichibukai who have been educated by the 4 emperors. How Moria hid in the terrifying capsized ship and didn't dare to come out. It's better than Doflamingo also trembled when he heard Kaido's name. And Yukimamaro is not even a Shichibukai. The two of them came to Fishman Island to get snacks this time, and they didn't want to waste time. After all, it was Big Mom's birthday tea party and their marriage to Germa, which was of great significance. Pakamas has already used his haki and wants to push Kimimaro away directly, which can be regarded as teaching this arrogant boy a lesson. But when he tried his best, he realized that he couldn't push it. He instantly realized that Kimimaro was not simple. He didn't look too strong, so I thought he was just relying on the power of the fruit, but he didn't expect that his body's strength was not low. Interesting, they seem to be quite capable, but don't think you can ignore the Big Mom pirates. Pakamas took a step back, charged up his whole body, and turned his entire arm into a black weapon and punched Kimimaro hard on the ribs. Because of the exertion, his foot sank an inch into the ground, but Kimimaro remained motionless. However, Pakamas felt as if he had been hit on an iron plate, and all his finger bones were cracked. With a bounty of nearly 3 million, he used all his strength, wrapped his arms around him, and hit Kimimaro, who was motionless, but was shocked and injured himself. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. My hand. Pakamas raised his hands and rolled on the ground in pain. Baron Eggman protected Pakamas behind him, with his 2 long legs tensed, ready for battle. Are you too determined to fight against our Big Mom pirates? Baron Eggman did not act rashly. Although he was stronger than Pakamas, he was not to the extent that he could stand still and receive a full-strength attack from Pakamas and still remain intact and receive shock. I had heard that Kimimaro was a bone fruit, and the bones in his body were extremely hard, but he never expected him to be this strong. Kimimaro said impatiently, "Are you too deaf?" I said it from the beginning. Call Big Mom and tell him that Fishman Island will be my territory from now on. As for going against the Big Mom pirates, let's solve it. Now that we know about Fishman Island, I will go to 10,000 Kingdoms in person to celebrate Big Mom's birthday. Arrogantly replying, how could Baron Dandan endure it? He also attacked Kimimaro, but before he could take action, ice formed on his feet. Then it quickly spread upwards, directly freezing half of Baron Eggman's body. Shiro's sighed. If he didn't take action, Kimimaro might kill someone. He stepped forward and took out a unique phone bug from Baron Eggman's arms and chose to make a call. Pokemon and Baron Eggman, what's the matter? The phone bug turned into a Big Mom, asked lazily, and said a little impatiently, "You'd better not tell me something went wrong on Fishman Island." Kimimaro said to the phone bug, "Big Mom, right? Let me inform you that from now on, Fishman Island is my territory, Kimimaro. If you still want some snacks, you can pay for them." The phone bug stopped for a full 2 minutes. With his mouth wide open, he couldn't digest the news for a long time. After a long time, he burst into loud laughter. "Ha ha ha. Kid, are you brave enough to occupy my Fishman Island and let me spend money to buy snacks? Kimimaro, are you the Sunagakure pirates who are very popular recently? Very good, it seems you are tired of living. I will not let you go." Kimimaro couldn't see any expression and said coldly, "Don't you have anything else to say? It's just this sentence every time. You don't need to let it go. Isn't it your birthday soon? I'll go back with your 2 men and give you celebrate your birthday and see how you don't let me go when the time comes." Big Mom's phone bug is down again. There have been many brave pirates in the past few decades, and there have been many pirates who have challenged her, but this was the first one who was so blatant and arrogant. He robbed her of her territory, made her worry, and then visited her home. Very good, are Baron Eggman and Pokmus okay? Come on, I'll wait for you. You'd better keep your word and don't let me chase you all over the world. Big Mom was angry at first, but now she is interested in this ignorant pirate group. Pakamas and Baron Dandan were sweating while listening. They had experienced Kimimaro and Shiro's strength and had to admit that they were very strong. But what is even more powerful is their courage. The two of them want to challenge the Big Mom pirates alone. But this is good. At least the two of them don't have to bear the responsibility of not getting snacks. Baron Eggman and Pockmusk, are you two here? Yes, Mom X2. You must bring them two to see me, you know? Yes, Mother. Wait a minute. Kimimero stopped Big Mom, who was about to hang up. What, have you changed your mind? Big Mom let out a sneer, knowing that this boy was just joking. If he dares to pick on our Yonko pirates, a general is not qualified to do so. No, just ask if you want some snacks. If you don't bring any money, I can let you pay on credit. You can give it to me when you get to Wangguo. Big Mom was amused again. Okay, very good, of course I want it. How can I miss the snacks from Fishman Island? You can bring them over. I will pay you double the money then, as long as you dare to take them. Kimimero ignored Big Mom's threat, hung up the phone bug, and threw it to Pokemisi. Okay, now you can go get the snacks. The three princes over there are ready to bring the snacks over. End of this chapter. Alright, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.